In my past life, as I lay dying in the raging flames, my husband and son not only refused to save me but also shut the window that was my only escape. Gasping my last breaths, my husband of many years said, "But you never guessed I started the fire. I'm sick and tired of everyone calling me a gold digger, yet it was him who begged my father for my hand in the first place." My son, Jaden, spat at me and said, "You're not my mother. I don't want a controlling mother like you. My real mother treats me so much better. I was merely teaching him the principles of how to conduct himself in life and basic moral character." When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the third month after giving birth. My mother-in-law had lost the child. This time, I didn't go out searching in the rain. How could the child just vanish into thin air? Ryan demanded frantically, pacing around the living room as he confronted his mother-in-law. I only turned my back for a second. How was I to know? That's right, I remember now. Marina was the one feeding the baby at the time. 3-month-old Jaden was missing. After a bout of crying my eyes out, I was now lying in bed, trying to rest. As my mother-in-law threw the water over my head, I sobbed. I put him in the crib right after feeding him, then went upstairs and fell asleep. Ryan, don't blame your mom. Her memory isn't what it used to be. And she was playing mahjong at the time. Playing mahjong. You took the baby to a smoky, filthy mahjong parlor, Ryan said angrily. Mom, what on earth were you thinking? My mother-in-law wasn't angry at being scolded and pretended to apologize. Yes, you're right. Mom knows she was wrong, Ryan said. Marina, you see, Mom didn't mean it. I sneered inwardly. That's just how hypocritical Ryan is. On the surface, he speaks up for me, wearing the mask of someone who cherishes and loves me. And that's how he sweet-talks me into going along with it willingly. I could only lower my eyes. Ryan, don't argue with Mom. I know she didn't mean it. It's my fault. I shouldn't have fallen asleep. I'm just not fully recovered yet. Ryan sighed. It's not your fault. You're still recovering from the complications of childbirth. You need your rest. He then turned to his mother-in-law and said, "No more mahjong from now on." All right, dear. I'll listen to you. No more. She claimed she was here to look after her grandson, but in reality, she spent every day playing mahjong downstairs. The housekeeper cooked the meals and did the laundry, the baby was in diapers, and she couldn't even be bothered to make a bottle of formula properly. It was always either too hot or too cold. The only time she'd put on a show of affection was when her son came home from work, giving the baby a few insincere cuddles. I should have seen this family for what they really are a long time ago, Ryan said. All right, let's stop arguing. We'll look for the child together, then I'll come with you. Cough. I tried to throw off the covers and get up, but ended up collapsing back onto the bed, seeing how pale I was and that I was coughing so hard it seemed I might cough up blood. Ryan swallowed the okay he was about to say. It's pouring rain outside. This time, I won't go out searching in the storm. And I certainly won't risk a serious postpartum illness. Jaden, you'd better not come back. Don't you dare dream of coveting my wealth and status in this lifetime. I'm going to find my own flesh and blood. I will find them, alive or dead, too. I wrapped myself in the quilt and had a good, long sleep. The next day, Ryan and his mother came back looking utterly dejected. I put on a show, crying my eyes out and nearly fainting. My parents came over and gave Ryan a severe scolding. My mother, in her roundabout way, laid into the old lady so fiercely she couldn't hold her head up. Her son's career advancement still depends on my father's connections. Seeing the situation turn sour, Ryan coaxed his mother into leaving. With only my parents and me left in the house, I produced the paternity test results. The test results indicate a high degree of DNA mismatch between Jaden and Marina, confirming the absence of a biological relationship. I clenched the paper, unable to quell the fury burning in my chest. When I was in labor, hemorrhaging badly, Ryan and his mother were outside the delivery room bickering. One insisted a natural birth was smarter, the other wanted a C-section. Seeing my condition deteriorate, if they'd truly wanted the surgery, they would have snatched the consent form and signed it long ago. My father rushed over from a meeting to sign the consent form just in time, otherwise the delivery room might have become the scene of a tragic headline about a mother and child lost, stretch marks, lochia discharge, and the postpartum confinement period. In the end, the child she had raised with such hardship wasn't her own, and her once considerate husband revealed his cruel side. I looked at the baby photo on the wall. Who could have guessed that child would grow up to be a monster? The kid doesn't look like me at all. Those thick lips and big, protruding ears are the spitting image of Ryan, but no one has ever doubted that he's my biological child. After all, no one ever questions if the mother is the real mother. The doubt always falls on the father. My mother was horrified. Did Ryan do this? Who's the father? I'll go find him. That spineless bastard, doing something so despicable. Mom, don't go. I paused, then laid out the entire plan for her. In this life and the last, my parents have always been my rock and my safe harbor. My father, having spent years navigating the business world, has a keen eye for reading people. You did the right thing, he said. We'll look for the child quietly. Let's not make a scene yet. My mother finally calmed down, held me tight, and burst into tears. You've been through so much, my dear. Whatever you decide to do, your father and I will support you. That low-life son of a bitch. What an actor. Absolutely. They had me completely fooled. And they bled my parents dry. 3. A week after the child went missing, Ryan had done everything he was supposed to, filed a police report, put up missing person posters. I even stumbled upon and tipped down 2 human trafficking rings. On the surface, I was looking for Jaden, but in truth, I was searching for my own child. That day, as I returned from outside, I saw Ryan from a distance, entangled in a struggle with a woman in a dress. In the end, the woman collapsed into his arms, weeping uncontrollably. So it was her, Ophelia. She had already entered my world when Jaden was 3 years old. She ran a small convenience store in the building downstairs. Jaden would cry and beg his dad every day to take him to the store to ride the coin-operated rocking horse. Sometimes Ophelia would give him all sorts of snacks. I thought to myself, this shopkeeper is really quite nice. Looking back now, I could just kick myself. I hid behind a large tree and captured everything on camera. As a lawyer, I know exactly where to hit where it hurts the most. My dad stuck to the plan as well. This time, Ryan was passed over for the promotion. Citing insufficient seniority, Ryan went home and, suppressing his frustration, put on an apron to cook for the first time ever. 3 dishes and a soup. Quite a feast. Marina, I've let you down. I didn't get the promotion. Maybe you could talk to your dad again. I really tried my best. My mother-in-law wore a rare, ingratiating smile. Is there really nothing your parents can do? Our Ryan is quite capable. You see, I wiped my tears. A promotion. Have you even found our child yet? They were both stunned. Tears streamed down my face. That's my child, the one I risked my life to bring into this world. If we don't find him, I swear I'll make you pay. The mother-in-law feigned a sigh. Marina, I'm just saying, you're both still young. You could still have another child. Have another what? Are you going to have it? Ryan looked displeased. Marina, is that any way to talk to my mother? He tried to soothe me with patience. Mom means well. The child is gone. It's happened, but we can't let ourselves fall apart. Oh, you're something else, Ryan. All you care about is your promotion and raise. Does it not matter if our child is dead or alive? So you think you can just brush this off because he's not your flesh and blood? I want my child back. I'm going to find him. If I don't want to live anymore. I grew more and more agitated as I spoke, and in a fit of rage, I flipped the table over. Plates and cutlery clattered to the floor, splashing broth all over the 2 of them. With tears streaming down my face and eyes red, I pointed at them both. Even if he's dead, I need to see the body. Marina, keep your voice down. The people upstairs will, I screamed at the top of my lungs, a cry that shook the heavens. My child, where are you? Mommy misses you so much. My mother-in-law tugged cautiously at Ryan's sleeve. She's lost her mind, she whispered, for I've lost my mind. I wandered around the neighborhood in my pajamas, telling anyone who would listen that my mother-in-law was so busy playing mahjong while babysitting that she lost the child. The neighborhood grannies were gossiping and pointing fingers at my mother-in-law. If something came up, I'd show up at the office in my formal wear, just to ask Ryan for time off to go home and find my kid. The boss giving me a hard time, I'd throw a full-blown tantrum to beg for his understanding. Colleagues getting curious, I'd just spill all the messy family drama right then and there. Ryan's face flushed crimson, and he stammered for a long while. It doesn't matter to me, after all. I've lived a full life. Our family, to put it simply, is a complete mess. It's just that my old man can't save face, with people dropping by every other day to gawk at the spectacle, so he applied for a job transfer, which turned out to be a pretty cushy position. To outsiders, it looked like he was being sidelined, especially with the arrival of a new boss. A new broom sweeps clean, and the shrewd ones are always quick to read the room. Even Ryan thought so. And started cozying up to the other managers, quietly distancing himself from my dad. It was on some afternoon that I climbed up to the rooftop, sobbing, ready to end my life. Ryan was crying his eyes out, begging me to come down. Honey, please. He wasn't afraid I'd kill myself. He was afraid I'd ruin his future. This is a critical moment for him. I was sobbing and screaming, teetering on the edge, scaring the mother and son so badly their faces turned pale and then ashen, still shaken. My mother-in-law grabbed Ryan and wailed at the top of her lungs, "Son, get a divorce. She's a lunatic. Today she threatens to jump. Tomorrow she'll come at you with a knife. What are we going to do if she ends up hurting you? Just get a divorce. It's for your own good." I stood on the rooftop, the wind from the open fields tousling my hair. Freedom, distance. I finally said it. I'm dead set on getting a divorce, every day. I track what Ryan and Ophelia are up to, documenting everything. My heart is harder than steel. I won't let them off easy. The divorce is just the first step. Ryan hesitated and glanced at me. My mother-in-law poured more fuel on the fire. Her father can't help you now, and she's in this state. Let's just get a divorce. But my mother-in-law lowered her voice. She's already lost her mind. Are you really going to take care of her for the rest of your life? The doctor said it last time too. This birth has ruined her health. She'll likely never have children again. Our Lee family needs an heir. Ryan, there are still ways. We can still have children. Then just marry that Ophelia girl. This one's a son, so the next one is sure to be a son too. Ophelia's family might not be as well off as this one, but she's obedient and easy to manage. Not like her, with a manager for a father who thinks he's something special. And this time, that useless old man couldn't even help you. Who knows what the future holds now, good or bad. Listen to your mother. I only want what's best for you. Leave him. 5. With my parents giving him the cold shoulder on purpose and my mother-in-law's constant instigation, Ryan soon became disillusioned and divorced me. The Lee family, afraid of what this madwoman might actually do, rushed through the property division. Mainly because we had only been married for 2 years and hadn't accumulated much in the way of assets. My dad is a shrewd operator. He had a backup plan all along. We didn't buy a house, lived in a relocation apartment, signed a prenuptial agreement, and kept the bride price and dowry at a modest $20,000 each. This is also why Ryan thinks my father is heartless, why he can't live off me, and why his family is resentful. The day I got the divorce papers, I did a complete 180. I coldly told Ryan and his mother to get out of the house. You have 2 days to pack your things and get out. My mother-in-law, no, my ex-mother-in-law, immediately went pale. Why on earth should I move out? This house was given to my son by your family for his marriage. I shot back. Have you been squatting in this nest for so long that you've forgotten whose name is on the deed? At the time of the wedding, your Lee family only gave a 20,000 yuan bride price. Or would you rather we settle this in court? Have you forgotten what I do for a living? Just because I've been on maternity leave for 6 months, the mother-in-law was so furious her chest heaved violently, unable to mount a proper argument. She could only resort to hysterical, mudslinging rage. You shameless little whore. Who do you think would want a lunatic like you after a divorce? You'll die a lonely old spinster, a worthless wretch with no one to bury you. I didn't even acknowledge them. Remember, you have 2 days. I slammed the door and left. The next day, the real estate agent told me that Ryan and my ex-mother-in-law sat in the living room wailing and carrying on, stubbornly refusing to move out. They said all sorts of things, insults directed at me, at my parents, and at my entire family lineage. Things escalated to the point where the police showed up. After getting the full story, they managed to talk the person down and get them to leave. The agent tipped the keys, cleared out the house, and said to me, your ex-husband, well, it's a long story. It's true what they say, a blessed woman doesn't enter an unlucky household. Thank you. I appreciate your hard work. Please take a larger share of the commission when the time comes. After hanging up the phone, I returned to my hospital office and looked at the director sitting across from me. Yes, I am formally reporting that Elsie stole my child. I then introduced him. This is Officer Lee. I filed a report. We'd appreciate your cooperation with the police investigation. 6. Elsie is Ryan's cousin and was the doctor who delivered my baby. I refuse to believe she wasn't involved. While we're cooperating with the police to find our daughter, Ryan and my ex-mother-in-law are spreading malicious rumors about me everywhere. They say I've gone mad since losing my child, that I'm a shadow of my former self, living like a ghost, and our home is no longer a home. Now they suspect me of having an affair, threatening to jump off a building just to get a divorce. This family fell apart, and I, the lunatic, am at least half to blame. Men, they always resort to these despicable tricks. The onlookers only saw the unhinged, neglectful version of me, and the hardworking, devoted Ryan. Their judgment was instantaneous, perfect. This is the age of public opinion, the era of siding with the underdog. I had already compiled those incriminating photos of Ryan and Ophelia, that shameless pair, and emailed them to everyone at the company and all our relatives. Public sentiment is fickle. My father's doorstep has been worn down by all the visitors. Old Bai, is it true your ex-son-in-law was really cheating? They say he had a girlfriend back in the countryside. He dumped her to climb the social ladder, and that's why he went after Old Bai's daughter. You should have seen him fawning over Old Bai, serving him tea and water like he was the god of wealth himself. Old Bai was as sharp as a tack, so how did he manage to take such a nasty fall right at the finish line? Every time someone came to ask, my father would just sit there, eyes downcast, sipping his tea in complete silence. The hair at his temples had turned frostwhite, as if he'd aged a decade in an instant. By the way, wasn't there something wrong with that nephew of yours? Did the old woman dump him on purpose because she didn't want to pay for treatment? I heard about that. They say she just tossed him on a rubbish heap, and he was carried off and eaten by dogs. Poor little thing. It's just awful. That old man is a real piece of work. When looking for a man, you really have to keep your eyes open. If there's a bad apple in his family, it'll bring nothing but misery for generations. When the new boss arrived, that guy immediately distanced himself from Old Bai. I knew right then he was no good. Thank goodness we split up. Being stuck with that for a lifetime would have been the real ruin. The onlookers sighed with pity, offering words of sympathy and consolation. The gossip spread like wildfire through every corner of the company. Even the security guard at the gate offered my dad a cigarette and a few words of comfort when he saw him. The company's top executive had a long talk with my dad that lasted all night. The next day, he was transferred to a branch office to serve as a junior manager, essentially waiting out his time until retirement. As for Ryan, he was gently encouraged to resign by HR and management. These days, it's all established companies. They place a high value on reputation. Once your reputation is ruined, you're as good as finished. 7. Ryan lost the job he was so proud of, and his life was thrown into complete disarray. He remembered me, his last lifeline, and came crawling back shamelessly. I always knew he'd try to leech off me. That's why I divorced him first and made my plans later. I was afraid Ryan would beg and cling to me like a desperate dog, because I know just how pragmatic, opportunistic, and greedy the Lee family can be. Without the ties of a common-law marriage, I'm free to go wherever I want and do whatever I please. Take right now, for example, Ryan keeps showing up at my door to apologize, always bringing either health supplements or fruit. And today, he actually brought his mother, my ex-mother-in-law, along with him. Honey, I was wrong. I know I messed up. Please, can you forgive me? Please, come home with me. Ever since the divorce, I haven't been able to eat or sleep properly. I'm a piece of garbage. I was wrong. I'll never do it again. She seduced me. I broke it off with her ages ago. She's the one who insisted on coming to find me. Honey, if you just come back, I'll do anything at all. My former mother-in-law watched her precious son kneeling and begging me, her heart aching for him, yet she felt compelled to chime in and back him up. Yeah, Marina, Ryan knows he was wrong. What man doesn't make mistakes? Just forgive him. Honey, about the child, I'll have my mom apologize to you. I cut them off with a cold snort. Who's your honey? You're the one who asked for the divorce. You're the one who signed the papers. What the hell are you barking about? Not content with just words, I went ahead and kicked Ryan to the ground right in front of the old lady. My ex-mother-in-law's face fell. What are you doing? How dare you hit someone, you uncouth little... Ryan was still sprawled on the floor, unable to get up right away, but he was already trying to hold his mother back, urging her not to act rashly. I crouched down, watching him struggle to get up, and asked coldly, "Where did you abandon my child?" He froze. What? Don't play dumb. Where is the child I gave birth to? Ryan was shocked. My ex-mother-in-law's face instantly went pale, and she blurted out, "How did you know?" I laughed. Not only do I know you swapped them right there in the delivery room. The two of them were stunned, as if struck by lightning. So you knew all along. That's why you pretended to be crazy and divorced me. Ryan collapsed to the floor, laughing and crying. My former mother-in-law snapped back to reality and started screaming. Where's my precious grandson? Did you get rid of him? It was you. I know it. You shameless, poisonous witch. You heartless monster. Give me back my precious grandson. Talk. Say something. You vile woman. Look at this pathetic mess. You worthless scum. Don't you dare drag me into your filth. Get lost. I shut the door, blocking out Ryan's ashen face and my ex-mother-in-law, who remained as incorrigible as ever. Just then, I heard them answer a phone call. Police. What police? I didn't abandon any child. You're the one who abandoned a child. You son of a bitch. It seems the police have caught up with them. 8. With the hospital's cooperation, the police got Elsie to talk and took Ryan and his ex-mother-in-law in for questioning. The situation was quickly pieced together. Ryan was the only college graduate from his village. He managed to land a job at my father's company, which was no small feat given the fierce competition, so his abilities were certainly solid. Once he secured his position, he cut ties with his old flame. Ryan broke up with Ophelia to pursue me, and we started dating. We had been married for 6 months when he accidentally ran into Ophelia again. That's when their messy, drawn-out affair began. Then Ophelia and I both ended up pregnant at the same time. A week before I gave birth, Ophelia was also admitted to the hospital to have her baby. It was premature and had to stay in the NICU. The medical bills were staggering. Ophelia couldn't afford them, so she threatened Ryan, divorce me and give her the money, or she'd expose the whole thing about the child. Ryan couldn't pass up the chance to climb the social ladder. With his silver tongue, he sweet-talked Ophelia, promising he would take excellent care of her son. So, after a quick discussion, they hatched a plan to swap Jaden with my baby. It didn't matter whether I had a boy or a girl, as long as the child carried the Lee family name. That was all that counted. On the day I went into labor, they deliberately started a fight to stall and refused to sign the consent forms. The delay caused me to hemorrhage from the pain and lose consciousness. In my unconscious state, how could I have known my seemingly devoted husband was harboring such venomous intentions? After I gave birth, my parents, concerned for my well-being, stayed by my side in the hospital room and didn't pay any attention to the baby. The delivery room had no surveillance, management was chaotic, and Elsie, being a doctor, even bribed the nurses. Her subordinates had little choice but to follow her orders. That's exactly how they found and exploited the loophole. After speaking The officer hesitated for a few seconds. Do you know the baby's sex? I shook my head. I was unconscious. I didn't even know if it was a boy or a girl. The officer said. Elsie mentioned it was a girl. So, I had given birth to a girl, and as soon as my former mother-in-law heard it was a girl, her face fell. She personally threw the baby into a haystack. I couldn't hold back any longer, with trembling hands. I called my mom. Mom, it's a girl. It's a daughter. Mom cried even harder than I did. She knows all too well the scorn a daughter can face in this world. She and my dad shielded me from every storm. 9. The child was found by an old woman who collects scrap. A great weight was finally lifted from my heart. She's alive. That's all that matters. Today is the day we go to see our daughter. I made a point of putting on makeup and dressing nicely, even though she's still so little. I don't want her to see me looking like a mess. Once we bring the little one home, we'll live a good life from now on, Mom said, putting an arm around my shoulder and meeting my eyes in the mirror. My girl is so pretty, and even prettier with makeup on. I sat at the dressing table, applying the last bit of lipstick. As I did, my eyes began to well up. Ever since I got pregnant, I haven't touched any makeup and have been extremely careful with my diet. I was looking forward to the new life. But I never imagined its birth would be the moment we had to part. If not for being reborn, I would have gone to my grave completely in the dark. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I've been a bad daughter, making you follow me into a life of hardship even in your old age. Behind me are the packed suitcases. After picking up our child today, our family is moving to another city to start a new life. As long as we're together as a family, any place can be our home. Dad put his arms around both Mom and me, smiling warmly. You are my everything. Protecting you is my duty. My daughter has suffered enough for one lifetime. I won't let you go through hardship again. As Mom combed my hair, she said, you'll always be my precious darling. Tears welled up in my eyes as I nodded firmly. 10. The scrapyard was on the outskirts of town, built from 2 corrugated iron sheds and surrounded by piles of all sorts of scrap, but one patch of ground had been cleared meticulously and was planted with flowers and plants. An old woman, hunched over, was sorting cardboard boxes. Next to her was a salvaged stroller, and a white dog with spotted fur was tied up nearby. The baby lay in the stroller, well cared for. Her newborn redness had faded, leaving her fair-skinned, and her delicate features had begun to take shape. The dog spotted us and barked a sharp, alert woof, woof, woof. The baby, seemingly familiar with the sound, responded with gleeful giggles, waving her arms and legs. Seeing this, my mother's eyes instantly welled up. She looks just like you, she said. The elderly woman straightened her back, a hand on her hip, and called out to us, no more visitors, no more. It's time to get the little one to sleep. When I saw the old woman's face, I was thunderstruck. I had seen her before. In my past life, a young intern girl joined the law firm I had founded. Fresh out of university, she caught the attention of my staff because she resembled me and was sharp. Once, the young lady accompanied us to meet a client. She chatted about antiques and made the client so happy that he signed the contract on the spot. I thought she was quite promising, so I brought her onto my team and started mentoring her personally. She's incredibly hardworking, meticulous with clients, and never lets favoritism go to her head. She's also a fantastic cook, bringing homemade meals every day. Her colleagues were so tempted they all wanted to invite themselves over for dinner. She said very earnestly that her home conditions weren't great, and hoped we wouldn't mind. One day, I found her crying in the stairwell. I thought a client had been giving her a hard time, but it turned out her grandmother was seriously ill and needed to be hospitalized. Poor thing, she cried so hard her makeup ran. I heard it's just her and her grandmother at home. Her grandmother put her through college, and their circumstances are really tough. My conscience got the better of me. So I gave her $100,000 as a bonus and approved a long leave for her. Later, after I died, Ryan and Jaden seized the company and fought over the corporate seal. The young woman and the other lawyers stood their ground, blocking the way. They were shoved and jostled, their hair disheveled and clothes torn, but they refused to back down. The signs were all there. Every single clue was there to be found. In my life, Marina, I have never wronged anyone. I have always walked the straight and narrow. It was heaven, taking pity on me, that granted me this chance to be reborn. My child, Mommy is here. 11. The old lady was a kind soul. She didn't want anything, only that we would be good to me who were in the future. That's my daughter's nickname. They said she had no milk, so she was raised on rice porridge. The 3 of us knelt on the ground, tears streaming down our faces as we thanked the old lady for her immense kindness. Our daughter has been found. Ryan, Elsie, and my ex-mother-in-law are all in detention. How long they'll be locked up is no longer my concern. I didn't go to see them. I took my daughter, the old lady, and our dog back to the new house. Once the trial was over and the sentences were handed down, Dad reached out to his old army buddies to make sure the 3 of them received some special attention in prison, and with that, the feud between our family and the Lee family came to a temporary close. We named our daughter Lila, a new dawn full of promise and bright futures. When my daughter turned 3, I opened a law firm, just like in my previous life, handling commercial litigation. Later, I partnered with the neighborhood committee to provide some pro bono legal aid. It was exhausting. But worth every bit of it. My father always said a lawyer must never grow numb. We must remember what pain feels like to truly empathize with our clients. I run the company while also helping my parents and my grandmother take care of my daughter. As the years went by, we moved from a 3-bedroom house to a large villa. My father retired and passed his lifetime's worth of connections onto me. When I got home from work, I could smell a delicious meal cooking even before I reached the door. Mom was chatting with the old lady, waiting for me, while Dad came back from visiting the neighbors, carrying our daughter. Oh, look, Mihu, guess who's back? The moment she saw me, my daughter stretched out her little hands and called out in her sweet, babyish voice, Mama, up, holding her tight in my arms. I finally understood what it felt like to have such a solid, grounding happiness when my daughter was 6. I taught her the principles of how to conduct herself and the importance of moral character, just as I had taught Jaden in a past life. She was raised well by us and her teachers, kind, patient, bright, and eager to learn, or perhaps she was simply kind by nature. On the evening of my daughter's 10th birthday, I returned home exhausted after meeting with a client. From a distance, my daughter rushed into my arms and said, Mom, can you close your eyes, all right? She took my hand and led me on and on. We stopped in a breezy spot. Mom, you can open your eyes now. I opened my eyes. The dark night sky was studded with stars, and turning my head, I saw my daughter's beaming face. Mom, look, there are so many stars out tonight. Let's look at the stars together. They're twinkling. It's been so long since I last looked up and quietly watched the stars. That night, I held my daughter and sobbed uncontrollably. My daughter, not understanding why, looked bewildered and heartbroken as she reached up to wipe my tears, then pursed her lips to kiss my cheek. With a serious little face, she piped up sweetly to comfort me. Mama, don't cry. Grandma and Granny said you'll get wrinkles if you cry. For the first time in all these years, I felt a sense of release. It wasn't a failure of my parenting. A scumbag is just a scumbag, born with that destructive, rotten DNA. It's rotten to the core. 12. The year my daughter turned 15. I was leaving the school after a parent-teacher conference. Mom, it's me, Jaden. That voice, it sounds like Jaden's. My expression darkened. Could it be that Jaden has been reborn too? I kept walking until someone grabbed my arm. I turned around, dressed like a punk. Jaden was overjoyed, sobbing uncontrollably. Mom, I finally found you. Who are you? I frowned, eyeing him with undisguised disgust, sloppy, thuggish, and reeking of the street. He noticed my contempt, a flash of malice crossing his eyes before he quickly composed himself. The look in his eyes remained unchanged. So I really was reborn. In his past life, he wore designer clothes and luxury watches, but in this one, he's just getting by with ear piercings and tattoos. Who knows which kind family took him in back then? After raising him for years, all he ever thinks about is me, his fake mom. What an ungrateful wretch he turned out to be. I'm Jaden. I'm your son, Mom. I've missed you so much. Where have you been all these years? I don't have a son. I paused. To be precise, I had a fake son, born to my ex-husband and his mistress, but my former mother-in-law lost him. Could it be you? I gave him a perfectly plausible excuse, and he nodded eagerly, pouring out the story of his life over the years. They were never kind to me. I never had enough to eat or warm clothes to wear. I suffered so much injustice. They compared me to other people's children in every single way. I don't want to listen to them anymore. He is so greedy. It's as if he's opening his maw wide, ready to devour me whole. You're the only one I recognize as my mother. You are my real mother. I've been searching for you all these years. I haven't forgotten the spit he hurled at me as I lay choking, half dead from the smoke of the great fire. It was utterly disgusting, nauseating. I refused coldly. I don't need a son. Your father and mother need you. You should go back to them. At these words, Jaden frowned deeply, his face full of disdain. I don't want to go to them. He must have gone looking by now, only to discover that his father, who had thrived with his father-in-law's help in his past life, is actually in prison this time around. After getting out, he couldn't make anything of himself and is now just loafing around at home, twiddling his thumbs. Jaden can't figure out where he went wrong. And now he's just desperate to latch onto me, only I'm following the original script. Starting a company and making a fortune, but now, even I don't want him anymore. Like hell I want him. I ignored Jaden's desperate pleas and got straight into the car. The moment he saw the BMW emblem, he froze, then clung to the hood and refused to budge. Mom, you're all I have in this world. If you abandon me too, I won't want to live anymore. Trying to threaten me. I wasn't having any of it. I stepped on the brake, and the sound of the engine starting made him stumble back in fright. Seeing I was dead serious, he stepped aside, his face deathly pale, and watched me leave with a dark, sullen glare. As soon as I got home, I immediately transferred my daughter to a private school with very strict access controls. 13. After Jaden came to stake me out a few more times, I had no choice but to have someone rough him up. That night, dressed in a clean suit, I happened to pass right in front of him, covered in blood. His eyes lit up when he saw me, and he slowly crawled towards me. Mom, please don't abandon me. It's me, Jaden. You always loved me the most. If you want me to study hard now, I will. I'll listen to you. I promise. I crouched down, wiped the blood from the corner of his eye, and said flatly, "Go find your father. Make your real mother leave, and then I'll come back, really." He thought his tearful plea had moved me. Really, why would I lie to you? Back then, the 3 members of the Lee family received different prison sentences, but after their release, they all ended up in the same miserable state. The whole family was crammed into a basement, without any proper jobs, living like rats in a sewer. Life was incredibly tough. Elsie was the only one who amounted to anything. Even after her medical license was revoked, she quietly set up a small private practice. I reported her several times. The place would get shut down, only to reopen again. In the end, Elsie climbed into bed with the right people and ran her practice undisturbed for a few years. Then Jaden showed up, stirring up the Lee family's murky waters all over again. But this time was different. He brought Ryan some good news. This rekindled a long-dormant hope in Ryan's heart. Really, Marina actually said that. Dad, it's true. That's exactly what Mom said. Mom's doing incredibly well now. She started her own law firm, drives a BMW, and lives in a villa, and she's not married. I checked, she's single. Tears welled up in Ryan's eyes. I knew she never forgot me. She loved me too much back then. The deeper the love, the sharper the bitterness. Ryan turned to look at Ophelia, who was scrubbing clothes. After his release from prison, he and Ophelia got their marriage license. All these years, she stuck by Ryan's side without fail, doing the laundry, cooking the meals, taking care of the bedridden old lady, always dutiful and well-behaved. If it weren't for the free live-in help, Ryan would have kicked her to the curb ages ago. Now that he's got a real catch like me, these past few years have really opened his eyes to how the world works and how fickle people can be. Money's the only thing that matters. Everything else is bullshit. Ryan kicked the laundry tub and declared, "Ophelia, I want a divorce." Jaden's feelings for Ophelia were a relic of his past life. She had doted on him, loved him, and would have given him the world if she could. But there was one thing she couldn't give him: education, wealth, and status. It was only after being reborn that Jaden truly understood the importance of these 3 things. He crouched down and pleaded with earnest sincerity, "Mom, you should divorce Dad. There's no point in you 2 staying together, and it's not maximizing benefits either. Don't worry. I'll definitely take care of you in your old age. You're my birth mother. I won't just abandon you." Ophelia's heart turned to ashes, seeing the true nature of this father and son once again. "Fine, let's get a divorce." 14. A week later, Jaden came to see me with Ryan. Ryan rushed over to me the moment he saw me. "Marina, is that really you? I've changed so much. I'm a completely different person from the clown I used to pretend to be." I took a step back, not missing the look of astonishment in his eyes. That was exactly the reaction I was going for. Ryan's attempt fell flat, leaving him looking deeply uncomfortable. I smiled at him and said meaningfully, "Long time no see. You haven't changed a bit. Just like before." He's older and more disheveled now, wearing a peeling leather jacket. He straightened it with a flourish, clearly thinking he looked dashing. "Long time no see, Marina." He was eager to prove to me, "You know, I've missed you all these years. I know you only retaliated because you hated me. I don't blame you, now that you're back, and Jaden is back. Let's live well together as a family." Jaden was also overjoyed. "Yes, Mom, Dad, right now, I feel like the happiest person in the whole world." I asked softly, "You 2 haven't eaten yet, have you? Go and get some food first. Don't let yourselves go hungry." At those words, Jaden's eyes instantly welled up. Perhaps my words reminded him of a past life, of how I used to care for him and his father. A pity. It was nothing but crocodile tears. I took them to the finest Western restaurant. The handsome waiter in a waistcoat bowed to us. "Good afternoon, Ms. Marina." The waiter let us in, having been out of touch with society for so long. Ryan exuded an air of awkwardness from head to toe. Jaden, however, with his memories of a past life, seemed right at home. After ordering, I pulled out a few hundred and handed it to the waiter. "For your trouble." Ryan's eyes went wide. "This much money, Marina? This doesn't feel right. Dad, could you not act so cheap?" Jaden wore a look of disdain, but despite his words, he couldn't help stealing glances at such an opulent and luxurious place. They thoroughly enjoyed the meal, their faces glowing with contentment as they listened to the flowing piano music. As I listened, my mind began to drift away. It was as if I were racing toward a bright future. I wiped the corner of my mouth and suddenly said, "I heard the old lady is paralyzed. I should go see her." 15. Ryan and Jaden eagerly led me back to their place. It was a dark, cramped basement. A faint light filtered in, illuminating the dust and the clutter of belongings strewn about in a messy, grimy heap. I frowned with distaste. "You live here?" Ryan, feeling embarrassed, gave an awkward smile. "Marina, this is just Our temporary place for now. Yeah, we'll be moving in a little while, Jaden said, kicking a large cardboard box aside with disgust. Jaden, who is it? Came an old, frail voice from the bedroom in the corner. Is that Elsie back? The two of them were just about to answer. I pushed the door open first and said with a bright smile, It's me, it's you. How dare you show your face here, you little wretch. The old lady flew into a rage, glaring at me with bulging eyes, as if she wanted nothing more than to throw off the covers and lunge at me to tear me apart. I suppose I must be the person she hates most in this world. I frowned. After all these years, you haven't improved one bit, have you? Mind your manners, be polite. I am a guest, after all. Ugh, spare me, Mom. Shut up. Ryan quickly shielded me behind him, offering a meek apology. I'm sorry. Please don't mind my mother. The old lady dared to yell at me, but she wouldn't dare argue with her own son. 2 years ago, she was hit by a car but managed to pull through. She survived, but her leg had to be amputated, leaving her bedridden and immobile. Her son had stood by her and cared for her without fail, so she would never contradict him. The old woman took a few sharp breaths and asked impatiently, What are you doing here again? Come to laugh at us? No, Marina isn't here to laugh at us. She never married all these years. She came to. You're still unmarried at your age. A divorcee is just a divorcee. No one wants you, no matter how much money you make. The old woman snorted with satisfaction. My son is different. Even without a job, women still flock to him. It's about Ophelia, how she's wasted her life following Ryan. Growing old, the heart grows cold. And you wonder what it was all for. Perhaps it's a case of not seeing the forest for the trees. I chuckled. You're still as sharp-tongued as ever, old woman. You. The old woman couldn't stand being provoked, but seeing the displeasure on her son's and grandson's faces, she swallowed her words. When Ryan and Jaden were occupied, I was left alone in the old lady's bedroom. Her eyes held nothing but merciless scorn and mockery. Back then, as my mother-in-law, she could lord it over me. Now the tables have turned. Twisted with resentment, she orders me to carry her to the bathroom, just as she used to boss Ophelia around with that same imperious air. Dream on, you old hag. I unhurriedly pulled back the blanket, looked at her maimed legs, and gave a low chuckle. Did you think I came here to wait on you? I'm here to make your lives miserable. In our past lives, you all did me so wrong. Why you. The old lady's eyes went wide, and she fainted from the shock. She must have just been overjoyed to see me. 16. Elsie wasn't exactly thrilled to see me, but after I gave her a few luxury handbags and shoes, her attitude toward me did a complete 180. You're the best, sis-in-law, not like my ex-sister-in-law, a total bore who couldn't string 2 words together, was useless at everything, and ate us out of house and home. I took a sip of tea and smiled without saying a word. Elsie, reading the room, said, sis-in-law. Back then, I was blinded and did you wrong. Now, you're letting bygones be bygones. I smiled and said, That's all in the past, and now that the child is found, I care even less about it. But you know, as my daughter grows up, she'll need her father in her life. Elsie let out a sigh of relief. Don't worry, if my brother ever dares to wrong you again, I'll be the first one to make him pay for it. Well, thank you in advance, then. Oh, by the way, I said, glancing around the small clinic, I'll see what I can do about getting that license for you, really. You can actually make that happen. Elsie was both surprised and delighted. All these years, that license had still been on her mind, I assured her, but before the test results came back, there was an incident at Elsie's clinic. An elderly patient passed out while receiving N4 drip. Now the patient's family is causing a scene at the clinic. They've smashed the glass, chairs, beds, and medicine cabinets. The police have also arrived to collect evidence and investigate. But Elsie wasn't there at the time, so the police took the young nurse back to the station for questioning. Marina, what are we going to do about this? They actually want me to pay $1 million. Are they out of their minds? Where would I get $1 million from? Now I'm their go-to person. Whenever there's trouble, I'm the first one they think of, their reliable old fall guy. I settled them into a new apartment and reassured them, don't worry, I'll figure something out. Elsie was trembling. Do you think I'll go back to jail if I can't pay? I can't go back to prison. That old bastard won't even answer my calls now. When things go wrong, no one is reliable. Marina, you're always the best to us. Ryan was also frantic. Marina, do you have any good ideas? Just when good times were on the horizon, Elsie ruined it. Jaden was furious. Auntie, honestly, how could you be so careless? Did I want to hurt anyone? I told you to stop. Just live a good life with my mom from now on. But you just had to. Their mutual accusations were giving me a splitting headache. Enough, both of you. I'll figure out the money. I've got plenty of it right now. A few million is nothing. Their eyes were fixed on me, burning with greed. I said, but I'm not sure how serious this is. If you're scared, I'll stay and handle it. Why don't you all go out and clear your heads for a bit, and go where? They'd track us down to the ends of the earth. Exactly, nowhere is safe. I'm in no mood for a stroll anyway. How about a trip abroad? 17, abroad, I said. Yeah, my parents have moved to Singapore, and I'll be moving there eventually too. I looked at Ryan. Since we'll be together sooner or later, you might as well all immigrate there with us. Really, even I can move there, Elsie asked. Unable to believe it, I nodded. Immediate family can. The only catch is the higher tax rate. But I'm a major taxpayer now. Jaden had traveled to Singapore with us before, so he knew all about the luxury there. He nodded excitedly. Absolutely. Singapore is a great place, full of affluent Chinese diaspora. It's also close to home. Once things settle down, we can come back whenever we want. He grabbed Ryan and Elsie excitedly. Dad, Auntie, let's all go together. We'll take Grandma with us. Mom, is that okay? He asked me expectantly. Well, I frowned. They all know perfectly well that I don't get along with the old lady. Elsie tried to persuade me. Her heart in it. Sis, no matter what's between you and my aunt, we're still family, right? Family should stick together, Ryan said. Marina, if you can let bygones be bygones this time, my mom won't give you a hard time anymore. I had no choice but to nod. All right then, I'll take care of the arrangements. So when can we go abroad? As soon as possible. I'll let you know when it's time. I need to go back and prepare the documents first. I bought them some water and food before leaving. During this time, Ryan followed up several times. I said, it's really difficult to go abroad right now. There's a lot of paperwork. I'll ask my friend for help. Don't worry. After hanging up, I went back to the hospital room and apologized to the police officer. Sorry about that. I've caused you all some trouble. It's all right. It's just that you, as family members, need to keep your temper in check, no matter what. You shouldn't hit people. Okay, we understand. After the police left, I turned to the old man in the hospital bed, smiled, and tucked in his blanket. How are you feeling, Uncle Zhang? Uncle Zhang boomed with a voice like a bell. I'm just fine, dear. Dad patted Uncle Zhang on the shoulder. Your Uncle Zhang here, in his youth, could run 10 kilometers in one go without breaking a sweat. You old rascal. The room erupted in laughter, filling the hospital ward with a cheerful, boisterous sound. A week later, Ryan and the others, having packed their bags, met up with me and the paralyzed old lady. The old lady was uncharacteristically warm and friendly towards me. Oh, in the end, it's you who's truly good to me. There's no bad blood between us, I said with a laugh. A minivan pulled up, the driver got out. I shook his hand and said, please take good care of them on the road. They got into the vehicle. Jaden called to me through the window, Mom, hurry up and finish your work so you can meet us. Ryan looked at me with deep reluctance to part. I said, you haven't met your daughter yet, have you? When you get there this time, give her a good, long hug. She's missed you all these years and has been waiting for you. Ryan's eyes welled up, and he nodded emphatically. Marina, I love you. See you then, sis. All right, have a safe trip. As the van drove away into the distance, I watched them leave, my own eyes growing moist. See you. 2 hours later, Ryan sent me a message. We've boarded. The flight attendant said we need to turn off our phones. Marina, take good care of yourself back home. I will take good care of myself. I hope you all do the same. After that, the message was never replied to. 18. Happy birthday, Mikiwer. Thank you, Mom, great-grandma, grandma, and grandpa. My daughter opened her eyes after making a wish. I love you all. We love you too. Brilliant fireworks lit up the night sky outside the window. As I ate the cake, my mind went blank for a second. I wonder if they can see such beautiful fireworks up in northern Myanmar. Oh, maybe they're busy typing away, doing the shuffle dance, or lying on the operating table and didn't see it. That's really nice. Story 2. I stopped my bestie from buying that haunted house. That place has bad vibes. When another buyer almost snatched it, she got all passive-aggressive. You're just jealous I can afford a school district home. Ever since my best friend bought this haunted house, her child fell seriously ill, running a persistent fever, delirious, and eventually became mentally impaired. She's held a grudge against me ever since. You jinx, you turned a perfectly good house into some cursed property with your big mouth. In her rage, she pushed me down the stairs, didn't even spare my wheelchair-bound mother. When I woke up again, I found myself back on the day my best friend was about to buy that haunted house. Jinx was meeting with the property owner to discuss the house. She turned to me, seeking my opinion. Kea, this place is such a steal. What do you think? I froze for a moment, my thoughts drifting as if still dazed. Seeing no response from me, Jinx pressed again. What's wrong? You look pale. So it turned out I'd been reborn. I spoke slowly, my voice slightly subdued. Buying a house is your decision to make. 1. My mom owns an apartment in this complex, so she knew about the haunted unit 404 here. It turned out to be the exact apartment my best friend was about to purchase. In my past life, my mom and I tried our best to talk my best friend out of buying this apartment, but she stubbornly insisted, convinced we were deliberately standing in her way. When problems arose later, she blamed me and in a fit of rage, pushed me down the stairs. Even realtors avoided this property, but Jinx thought she'd struck gold when she saw the owner listing it privately at $500K below market price. She was visibly upset at that moment. I asked you to come house hunting with me because you're my best friend. If you won't help me decide, who will? That's a decision I dare not make. No matter how many times I warned her it was a haunted house in our past life, she just wouldn't believe it. In this age of science, you're still clinging to feudal superstitions. The property owner chimed in. If you're interested, we can go inside and take a look. The suggestion of going inside sent chills down my spine. Jinx grabbed my hand. Putting on a pitiful puppy dog face, Kea, just come inside with me for a quick look, please. I immediately refused with firm determination. Something came up at home. I need to head back. You go ahead without me. Jinx was clearly displeased with my answer. She grabbed my hand, her tone laced with irritation and reproach. Now I finally see it. You don't want me to succeed at all. When I mentioned buying a house, your face was full of disapproval. Aren't you supposed to be Junior's godmother? At your age, still unmarried, who else will you rely on if not my Junior? I slammed my hand on the table, startling the property owner. Buying a house is your business. Go if you want to. Jinx's voice carried a hint of shock and displeasure. Kea, have you lost your mind today? I'd just been reborn. Of course my first priority was seeing my mother. What's really happened to my mother in this life? I hailed a cab and got in. When I got home and pushed open the door, I saw Mom sitting by the fireplace. Her hands moved deftly as she knitted, the plum blossom birthmark on her right wrist flickering in and out of view with each movement of the needles. My eyes grew moist. Mom, I called out excitedly, rushing to her side and grasping her hand tightly. Let me check if you're hurt. My mother looked up, her eyes filled with tenderness. She shook her head with a gentle smile. I'm fine, dear. I grew up without a father. Just my mom and me against the world. With all her love, my mother warmed every moment of my growing years. She treated Jinx like her own daughter, knitting 2 sweaters every time, one for me and one for Jinx. She draped the finished scarf around my neck and asked softly, what do you think of this scarf? Does it look nice? Stroking the soft yarn, I choked up and said, Mom, your scarves are the most beautiful, she said. Then my mom brought out a whole box of scarves. I asked curiously, Mom, why did you knit so many scarves? Are they for Jinx? My mom smiled, patting my head as she said, why would I give them to her? These are all for you. In my past life, Mom was always kind to Jinx. Why the sudden change today? No use overthinking it. I forced a smile and said, just sit tight, Mom. I'll make braised eggplant for you now. Given this second chance at life, I just want to live peacefully with Mom. I won't let Jinx hurt us again. We were enjoying steaming hot dishes at the table, chatting and laughing, when suddenly the doorbell rang. Peering through the peephole, I saw it was Jinx. I wasn't going to open the door for her, but she kept pounding on it so hard that even the neighbors woke up. Left with no choice, I finally let her in. Jinx held Junior's leash with an air of superiority as she interrogated me. Kea, why did it take you so long to answer the door? Are you avoiding me on purpose? You weren't like this before. I had no intention of arguing with her and asked coldly, what brings you here? Jinx came over with Junior and said, could your mom watch the kid for me? I'll go house hunting with you. She'd always dump Junior on us whenever something came up. Now she expects me to babysit for her. I turned her down without hesitation. My mom can't take care of him, and I'm not going house hunting with you either. I've got a business trip tomorrow. Jinx was growing impatient, her tone turning sharp. You're Junior's godmother, and Auntie is his grandma. If you two won't take him, who will? Can't you just take tomorrow off? Business trips are all work and no reward. Why even bother going? So I shouldn't have gone on that business trip just because I didn't bring Junior along for her. Jinx's tone softened. All right, I won't ask you to check the house anymore. Don't be mad. Okay, I'll go by myself tomorrow, Auntie. Why aren't you talking some sense into Kea? She's been acting all weird lately. She suddenly changed her tune, probably realizing she hadn't squeezed the down payment out of me yet. In our past life, I was always the one scraping together her down payment. My mom suddenly spoke up, deliberately drawing out each word. You'd better stay away from Kea. Set foot in my house again and you'll regret it. Jinx suddenly turned pale and hastily dragged Junior out. She blurted out in a hurry, Kea, something came up. I need to head back now. A chill ran down my spine. I turned to look at my mother, her face completely expressionless, eyes hollow and unfathomable, her head and body turned in unison, silhouette flickering in the lamplight as the atmosphere grew eerily unsettling. Too, my mother looked at me, smiled faintly and said, must be the humid summer weather. The bulb's gotten damp, just needs replacing. How did Mom's attitude toward Jinx change so drastically? Even though this house is $500K below market price, Jinx still can't cover the down payment. In my past life, I helped her scrape together the down payment. Not this time though. The next day after work, I spotted Jinx downstairs. I avoided her and took a different path, but Jinx quickened her pace and grabbed my arm. Her tone carried a hint of pleading, yet her eyes betrayed resentment and reproach. Kea, you won't come house hunting with me or help with Junior. At least lend me some money for the down payment, will you? I refused immediately. I'm broke. I've already booked a doctor for my mom and scraped together money for her leg treatment. It's all paid for. Jinx's face darkened instantly as she snapped furiously. How could you? Your mom's leg is beyond fixing. She's 60, for God's sake, already halfway in the grave. Why waste money on that? You'd better give it to me for a down payment. At least Junior will support you when you're old. I watched Junior biting his nails beside me. In my past life, Junior just stood there grinning like an idiot while Jinx pushed me down the stairs. Who'd ever rely on a dumbass like you? I gave Jinx a stern look. Handle your own problems. I don't need to rely on Junior. With that, I turned and walked away. I'd been trying to save up for my mom's leg treatment, but Jinx kept borrowing the money with various excuses. After dinner, I accidentally came across Jinx's social media post. In the photo, I spotted a faintly familiar face in the lower left corner of the window, but couldn't quite make out who it was. The caption read, "Some people were never meant to share life's joys and sorrows." That line drew a bitter chuckle from me. I've been more than decent to Jinx all these years. During that flood, Jinx saved my life by tossing me a tree branch. We became inseparable best friends since then. Yet she started taking my kindness for granted. I bought her gifts, rented her apartments. When she had Junior out of wedlock, I financially supported them both. Though Junior calls me godmother, he's never warmed up to me, always yelling in my face. When she wanted to buy that haunted house, I was the one who helped her scrape together the down payment. Just then, a notification popped up on my phone, a message from my boyfriend Chandler. "Jinx says you kicked her out. Wasn't she your best friend? Try being more generous." Don't be so petty. I've never forgotten that scumbag. He's heartless, didn't even shed a tear when I died. Before long, he was hooking up with Jinx. Disgusting. Chandler's office is right across from my place. He often works late into the night. As I approached Chandler's office door, I heard him getting cozy with a female coworker before I could even knock. "When are you going to dump that ugly chick?" Chandler had one arm around his female colleague's waist while tilting her chin with his other hand, mischief dancing in his eyes. "What's the rush?" Already dreaming about marrying me. If it weren't for her mom's real estate portfolio, I'd have broken up ages ago. Once the old lady kicks the bucket, those properties will be mine anyway. Turns out Chandler and Jinx were after the same thing. My mom's multiple properties. I considered exposing them, but decided to play along instead. I walked downstairs back home to find Mom knitting in her wheelchair again. I approached her and asked softly, "Mom, why are you knitting so many sweaters? I haven't even worn through the ones you made before." My mother touched my face and said with a smile, "I worry you'll get cold in winter, so I'm making a few extra. Remember, these are hand knit by your mom. Don't give them away." I held my mother's hand. "Got it. I won't give it to anyone else. Not that there's anyone to give it to anyway." One morning, I suggested to my mom, "We still have that empty apartment sitting idle, right? I was thinking we could rent it out. In my past life, Mom refused to rent it out because it was meant to be my future marital home. The place has been fully renovated but never lived in. Surprisingly, my mom agreed this time. "All right, I'll follow your lead." I took the keys and brought the realtor to view the property. After struggling forever, the key just wouldn't turn in the lock. I took a few steps back, double-checking the apartment number several times, wondering if I'd gotten the wrong door. No mistake, this is 803. Why won't it open? I never changed the locks. Then I suddenly heard noises coming from inside, and a wave of unease washed over me. I knocked for ages before someone finally opened the door. To my shock, it was Jinx standing there. I barged into the house, and what I saw made my blood boil. The walls were covered in messy crayon scribbles, the storage cabinet was kicked in, and the TV screen had a crack running through it. Even the cross-stitch my mother painstakingly made was defaced with black paint. The floor was covered in stubborn stains and scattered sunflower seed shells. "This isn't living, it's outright vandalism," I demanded angrily. "Jinx, what are you doing here? This is my house." Jinx just grinned cheekily, lounging on the sofa with her feet propped on the coffee table, casually spitting sunflower seed shells onto the floor. "Well, Kaya, my place is under renovation and I've got nowhere to stay. Figured since your house was sitting empty anyway." "How the hell did you get a key to this place?" Jinx said nonchalantly. "I called a locksmith to pick the lock and replaced it with a new one." I glared at Jinx and demanded angrily, "How dare you move in without my permission? This is trespassing, it's illegal. You've damaged my property and I demand compensation." Jinx abruptly tossed the sunflower seeds back into the bag, spat on the ground, dusted off her hands with an air of unshakable confidence. "What law? You don't even live here yourself, yet you won't let me stay. Are you Junior's godmother or something? We'll be out in a few months once the renovation's done." Her sheer audacity made my blood boil. I slammed the documents onto the desk with a thunderous bang. "Jinx, I order you to get the hell out of my place right now, and you're paying for every single thing you've damaged. The walls, the TV, and the cabinets," Jinx said shamelessly. "Try and make me pay. What are you gonna do about it? You refused to ask your mom to transfer one of your family's dozen properties to me. Now that I can buy my own place, you're still pissed. Can't even crash at your place for a few days without your whiny ass complaining." Now I finally see your true colors. You just can't stand to see me doing well, can you? When your mother dies someday, don't expect anyone to handle her funeral. Don't blame me for turning my back on you then. When Junior reached school age, Jinx kept pressuring my mom to transfer a property under her name for Junior's schooling. Since the property was under my mom's name, she obviously refused. After that, Jinx started giving her the cold shoulder with all that passive-aggressive nonsense. Who would have thought she'd go as far as killing us over that damn house? The haunted house story. Just her pathetic excuse. I slapped Jinx right across the face. How dare she curse my mother? I've been way too easy on her. Whoever curses my mom will die. I dialed 110 and the police arrived. As I explained the situation, Jinx threw a tantrum on the floor, screaming and drawing the neighbors' attention. Kea, if you dare kick me out, you'll regret it. Come quick, everyone come see. This house is haunted, a death trap. Anyone who dares live here will be hunted by vengeful spirits. Let's see how you'll ever rent this place out now, much less sell it. You brought this on yourself. An eye for an eye. She saw me bringing realtors to view the property. With this scene she caused, selling or renting it became impossible. She was screaming at the top of her lungs while casually pointing her phone at me to record. 3. Everyone. Look, this is my best friend of 20 years. I saved her during the flood. Now her house is haunted, and she wants me to stay in this cursed place to help exorcise ghosts. The moment things settle down, she tries to kick me out and even curses my son. I'm telling you, this house is haunted. Late at night, a woman in red with disheveled hair roams the halls. Now she's even calling the cops on me, trying to get me thrown in jail. What kind of backstabbing friend does that? You tell me. I snatched her phone and smashed it on the ground, but the video still got sent. Jinx got hauled off by the police. She spent 2 weeks in lockup and had to pay me damages. Chandler messaged me again. I saw Jinx's video. Kea, you're trending. Have you no shame? Throwing your own bestie under the bus like that. When I checked the trending list, I couldn't believe my eyes. I'd actually made it onto Weibo's hot searches. The glaring hashtag read fake sisterhood. A smaller caption below added. First sends her BFF to a haunted house, then gets her thrown in jail. My heart sank as I clicked in. The page scrolled endlessly, filled with nothing but curses and accusations against me. Jinx was live streaming, raking in enough viewer donations to cover her renovation costs. She put on a pitiful act during the stream, tearfully recounting her story. Talk about rotten luck, ending up with a best friend like this. Not only did she take my money, she nearly took my life. And to think I was the one who saved hers. Listen up, lovelies. When picking a bestie, keep your eyes wide open. It's just like dating. Choose wrong, and you'll end up like me. The live stream chat exploded with supportive messages comforting Jinx, sending virtual hugs. My heart breaks for you. A friend like that isn't worth keeping. She's absolute trash of society. My heart goes out to you, Opie. I just had a falling out with my bestie too. Turns out she was messing around with my boyfriend. Jinx is twisting the facts. She's the one who's insatiably greedy and utterly unscrupulous. Not only did she scheme to take my house, she ended up pushing me off the building, and was even fooling around with my boyfriend Chandler. I've been constantly harassed by netizens. Some even doxed my company address, sending funeral wreaths and disgusting items, so I released the full video I recorded myself. The footage shows the damaged property. She even brazenly taunted in the video. When I asked your mom to transfer a property to me, you refused. Now that I've bought my own place, what's it to you if I stay at yours? When your mom dies, nobody will even collect her corpse. Netizens were outraged after watching the video. Someone lashed out. Jinx, you think we're fools you can manipulate? Let's dox her address. I'll send her a funeral wreath. You're the toxic friend here, Jinx. Twisting the truth and playing the victim. It's absolutely disgusting. I actually felt sorry for you yesterday and bought from your shop, but today I'm returning everything. How disgusting to manipulate netizens and twist the truth. Jinx got so much hate that they stopped live streaming, and later had their account shut down after being reported by netizens. Netizens came to my social media to apologize to me. Soon after, Jinx's new home renovation was completed. One day, I stumbled upon Jinx's social media post where she wrote smugly, "Had a feng shui master inspect my new place, perfect energy flow bringing great fortune." Jinx, whom I hadn't heard from in ages, suddenly called me with a hint of pride in her voice. "Kea, my house renovation's done. Why don't you and your mom come over sometime?" I hung up the phone with a blank expression. Within moments, Jinx bombarded me with a barrage of messages, either emotional blackmail or guilt tripping. "If I hadn't saved you back then, you'd have been swept away by the flood, Kea. How can you be so ungrateful? You hung up before I even finished speaking. After decades of friendship, how could you be so heartless to cut ties just like that? I'm reaching out in good faith. If you'd just come to my place, I'll let bygones be bygones. We can still be best friends. When your mom passes away someday, it'll just be the two of us left to depend on each other. Jinx is that toxic bestie who'll be the death of you." Obviously I wasn't going, so I blocked her right back. Jinx actually went out of her way to consult a spiritual medium. The medium said we just needed someone to live there first to absorb the negative energy, then everything would be fine. She's trying to make me the fall guy. In my past life when I suggested finding a mage, Jinx called it a scam. Why is she suddenly insisting on one now? The realization sent chills down my spine. I immediately called my mom, but no one picked up. My heart raced as I checked my watch's GPS, only to discover my mom was in Jinx's neighborhood, specifically building 4 where Jinx lived. A chill ran down my spine. Had Jinx kidnapped my mom to drain her negative energy? I floored the accelerator to Jinx's place. And just as I was about to enter the elevator, I spotted my mom. She stood by the elevator doors looking uneasy, overjoyed. I called out, "Mom, what are you doing here? Did your leg heal?" My mother seemed hesitant when she saw me, stammering, "I suddenly could stand and walk today. I wanted to check on your wedding apartment. When the key didn't work, I came back. You scared me to death. I thought Jinx had taken you away." My mom's legs that hadn't moved in over 20 years actually started working today, but my wedding apartment is in Building 8. Jinx is in Building 4, and my mom came out of Building 4, whatever, as long as Mom's legs are better now. Wiping away tears, I smiled and said, "Mom, let's go home and celebrate together. My mom finally doesn't need a wheelchair anymore." During dinner, Mom kept putting food on my plate. "Eat more. I won't be a burden to you anymore. I'll be there to help you." I gave Mom a chicken drumstick too. "Mom, don't say that. You've never held me back. Mom, once your leg heals, let's get a dog. You've always wanted one. We can take it to the park for walks." But Mom turned me down. "I don't feel like keeping dogs anymore. Back then I had too much time on my hands. Now that my leg's better, I want to ease your burden and spend more time knitting sweaters." Holding my mother's hand, I said, "We've got enough sweaters to last decades." After a pause, I continued, "Mom, I had a nightmare where Jinx killed us. I'm so scared of losing you." My mother held me and comforted me. "That won't happen. Trust me, it was just a dream. I'm here with you. Don't be afraid. Since Jinx is also reborn, I can't just sit around waiting. I need to take proactive action. Mom, I've got a plan." We locked eyes and nodded in agreement. When Jinx failed to trick me into being her scapegoat, she set her sights on Chandler instead. She completely bamboozled Chandler into moving into her haunted house to absorb the negative energy. Chandler thumped his chest and declared, "What are you gentlemen afraid of? If ghosts exist, I'd love a passionate night with a female specter." After setting up the surveillance system, Chandler collapsed exhausted onto the bed and quickly fell asleep. At the stroke of midnight, urgent knocking suddenly echoed through the house. Groggily, Chandler got up and opened the door to find a veiled old woman standing there. Chandler asked with visible irritation, "Who are you looking for at this ungodly hour?" The old woman's voice trembled as she spoke, "Young man, have you seen my daughter? I'm looking for my girl." Unsurprised, Chandler slammed the door shut with a bang, muttering under his breath, "What kind of lunatic comes looking for their daughter in the middle of the night?" Not long after, the knocking sounded again. Chandler cautiously opened the door to find a woman in red standing outside. Chandler asked with a trembling voice, "Who are you looking for? It's the middle of the night. Can't you let people sleep? For..." The woman in red slowly raised her hand and pointed inside, saying, "I want my mom." Chandler bolted out the door in terror. The next morning, Chandler woke up horrified to find himself hanging upside down from the doorframe, with muddy footprints trailing across the floor. Overcome with terror, he scrambled out of room 404 despite his injuries, crawling desperately to escape. Security footage revealed Chandler dancing wildly at midnight, leaping onto couches, rolling on the floor, and seemingly conversing with invisible entities. His mental state deteriorated afterward, frequently snapping his head around to address empty air. The entire office was terrified, forcing the company to let him go. Later, Chandler's mom approached me, asking me to check on him, but I refused. When Chandler's mother confronted Jinx, she acted completely indifferent. Chandler's mom dropped this bombshell: "You ruined my son like this, and I won't let you get away with it." Jinx couldn't care less. And Chandler ended up being sent to a mental institution for treatment. One day while I was taking a walk in the park with my mom, Jinx deliberately approached me. With a smug grin on her face, she stepped forward and taunted, "I've already destroyed your boyfriend. This is what happens when you cross me. When I tried to reconcile, you humiliated me. Now your only boyfriend has lost his mind. You're truly cursed." I smiled calmly and said, "Then I should thank you for taking out the trash. I've known his true colors all along." Jinx's face paled instantly, her fingers turning white as they clenched the coffee cup, her voice trembling with emotion. "Impossible. Chandler said you were going to marry him." I chuckled again and said nonchalantly, "Obviously I was lying to him. You actually believed that." With that, I turned to leave. Jinx flew into a rage and snarled, "I killed you in our past life, and I'll kill you and your mother in this one." So Jinx truly was reborn. She knew my mother was my Achilles heel and tried to use that against me. I warned Jinx in a threatening tone, "Lay one finger on my mom and you'll regret it." With that, I turned and left. This time around, I'll make damn sure to protect my mother. After performing the ritual indoors, the Archmage said to Jinx, "The vengeful spirits have been banished. The house is thoroughly cleansed now, and you may move in without worries." Upon hearing this, Jinx threw a lavish banquet, inviting all her friends and relatives to celebrate. She wore a triumphant smile, proudly showing off her prized school district property. "My son is destined for greatness. This house is now blessed with supreme fortune." Yet Jinx's son kept chewing his nails blankly, devoid of any vitality, let alone resembling someone destined for greatness. Relatives and friends all praised the excellent feng shui of Jinx's house. That very night, Jinx came scrambling out in sheer terror, muttering incessantly, "Ghost, ghost, there's a ghost." Junior ran such a high fever from the fright, yet Jinx refused to take Junior to the hospital, instead seeking out a witch doctor. The witch doctor smeared mud all over Junior's body, claiming it would break the fever. The neighbors all urged Jinx to take Junior to the hospital. To everyone's surprise, Jinx retorted, "My son is perfectly fine, just startled, not sick at all. He's the reincarnation of the Wisdom Star. How could he possibly fall ill?" I asked in confusion, "You're all just jealous of me, that's why you're saying my son is sick." The next day, Junior developed febrile seizures and kept convulsing uncontrollably. Jinx panicked, drawing attention from a nearby security guard. They frantically called emergency services multiple times before the ambulance finally arrived. That night's heavy snowfall caused the ambulance to skid on the road, delaying its arrival. Later, Junior was rushed to the hospital. The doctor diagnosed him with meningitis-induced brain damage, not from febrile seizures, but due to delayed treatment for far too long. Jinx couldn't accept this reality, muttering repeatedly, Why couldn't I protect Junior this time either? Didn't the mage say the vengeful spirit was already banished? No way, absolutely not. I refused to accept this outcome." With that, Jinx charged into the room wielding a knife, shouting at the top of her lungs, "Show yourself. Come out and face me if you dare. Come at me, demons. I'll chop you to pieces. I'm not scared of you." No matter how much Jinx screamed, the room remained eerily silent. Too terrified to stay with her simple-minded son, Jinx had no choice but to look for rentals. Yet no locals would rent to her, fearing the mentally unstable woman might do something drastic and turn their property into another haunted house. Chandler's mom found out Jinx was moving and ransacked her place beforehand, taking all the valuables. Only scattered clothes remained, making the place look even more desolate, like a haunted house. Left with no choice, Jinx had to move to a remote village with her simple-minded son. But no matter where Jinx relocated, she kept claiming a woman in red was following her. Every night she trembled with fear, too terrified to sleep alone. Junior's eerie midnight laughter only deepened her terror. In the end, she heartlessly abandoned Junior at the orphanage's doorstep. Later, the police tracked down Jinx and ordered her to take Junior back. With tears in her eyes, Jinx said to her son, "You'll get better soon, son. I promise to give you a good life." Jinx came to my building again, pacing nervously but never daring to come upstairs. Perhaps because of my previous warning, she started screaming obscenities downstairs, her shrill voice piercing the air. "Kaya, how could you be so vicious? You knew damn well that was a haunted house, yet you deliberately kept us in the dark and let us move in. Now Junior's traumatized because of it. You're pure evil, plotting to kill us both just to get your hands on my inheritance. I've never met anyone as heartless as you. You'll pay for what you've done. Either compensate us with a proper house, or I'll make sure everyone here knows your crimes every single day." A toxic person remains toxic. Whether you advise them to buy property or not, you'll end up being the villain either way. To this day, Jinx still has her eyes on our family home. Her screams drew the neighbors, and soon a crowd had gathered around. When Jinx spotted my mother, she instinctively took a few steps back, a flicker of panic flashing in her eyes. I couldn't take it anymore and stormed downstairs, slapping her hard across the face. Clutching her reddened cheek, she shrieked, "Everyone, look, Kaya not only framed others but now resorts to violence. Is there no justice left in this world?" With that, she threw herself on the ground kicking and screaming, playing the victim card. I grabbed her by the collar and shouted angrily, "You're exactly who I'm hitting. You were the one who insisted on buying this house, all the neighbors warned you against it, and now you're blaming me. What, are you after my family's money too?" The surrounding neighbors all pointed at Jinx and scolded, "I know this woman, she's the one who posted that video on Weibo last time. She slandered Kaya and now she's trying to scheme her way into someone else's property. I know her too, she was always sneaky behind Kaya's back, even physically abusing Kaya's mother when she wasn't around. Yeah, I've witnessed it multiple times. Thank goodness Kaya's mother has recovered now. I work at the hospital. Her son's condition worsened because of her. She refused proper treatment and insisted on using some witch doctor's mud poultice, missing the critical treatment window. Now I understand why Mom never spoke up before. She feared I'd be left with no support after her passing, so she endured everything in silence. A shrill voice suddenly rang out from behind. It was Chandler's mother. She swung at Jinx, grabbing her hair and slamming her head against the floor. This bitch tricked my son into living in a haunted house. Now he's completely out of his mind. You've got your own kids. Yet you seduced my son just to mooch off him. I'll kill you. I'll beat you to death. You shameless bitch. Jinx got beaten black and blue by a group of aunties, and had to scramble out of the neighborhood in disgrace. That day in the park, Jinx charged at me like a rabid wolf, pressing a razor-sharp knife against my throat with murderous intent. Kaya, be smart. Don't scream or resist. Just come with me quietly, or I won't hesitate to use this blade. I followed Jinx to an abandoned, half-finished building. Jinx dialed my mom's number, a smug grin curling at the corner of her mouth. Auntie, your daughter's with me now. Bring the property deed and the transfer paperwork, signed and ready. Hand over the house. Or I'll kill her if you dare call the cops. Jinx stared at me with eyes full of disdain and mockery. Even after getting a second chance, you still ended up in my hands. And here I thought you were something special. I smirked contemptuously and retorted, we'll see who has the last laugh. If I'm not mistaken, you deliberately made me step on that rotten branch during the flood when we were kids, let me fall into the water, then played the hero by saving me, didn't you? Jinx's smile froze abruptly, twisting into a contemptuous sneer. So you're not completely stupid after all. Pity you've figured out the truth too late. I seized the moment to ask, didn't you ever notice Junior wasn't right? Jinx stared at me in shock, her face draining of all color. What's not normal? He's burned out. Of course that's not normal. I chuckled and said, remember when you told me you kept dreaming about strangling a child? That child was Junior. He's always been with you. You choked him to death at age 2 because he wouldn't finish that awful baby food you made. You've lived a second life, yet failed to see the devil by your side. Jinx screamed like a madwoman. Impossible. You're lying. I continued calmly. 5. There's no such thing as a haunted house. It's all your precious Junior's doing. He drove you mad, made you do terrible things, all for revenge. Just then, my mom arrived by taxi. Seeing this, Jinx immediately tensed up. Her grip tightened around the knife as Jinx threatened. Have you signed it yet? Sign it now. My mother asked calmly. You've signed. Now release Kaya, won't you? Jinx grinned eerily and shook her head, saying, let her go. Never. If I could kill her in my past life, I'll damn well kill her in this one too. Jinx immediately thrust toward my chest, but the dagger was suddenly knocked away by an unseen force. Chandler arrived too, picking up the dagger and lunging straight at Jinx while shouting, you bitch, you framed me and cost me my job, drove me to the brink of madness. Today, I'll end you. Jinx dodged just in time, causing Chandler to lose control and plunge to his death. Jinx's eyes twisted into a grotesque expression, as if witnessing pure horror. My mother had alerted the police beforehand, and officers arrived to cuff Jinx. Jinx received a life sentence for kidnapping and premeditated murder. The rest of her life will be spent behind the cold iron bars of prison. I visited her once. Jinx was covered in bruises from head to toe. She'd been drifting in and out of consciousness, her mind hazy and confused. But the moment she saw me, her eyes suddenly cleared with startling clarity. She struggled toward me, gripping the iron bars with trembling hands, her voice quivering with desperation. Kaya, I was wrong. Please save me. I can't take it anymore. It was my fault. I shouldn't have let greed cloud my judgment, thinking you'd be an easy target. I swear I'll never do it again. I stared at her coldly, a mocking smile curling at the corner of my lips. There is no future left. You've got 2 lives on your hands now. They'll haunt you forever. Her voice trembled as she asked, was all of this your doing? I glanced at her shoulder and said with a faint smile, let me just say, I was the one who hired that grand mage. That night Chandler stayed in the haunted house. It was me and my mom playing ghosts to scare him. After we scared Chandler out of his wits, we had his mother target Jinx to stage my kidnapping. Since Jinx is obsessed with getting that house, she wouldn't lay a finger on me before securing it. My mom will handle calling the cops and bringing Chandler here for payback. Letting them take each other out is the perfect exit strategy. Jinx seemed to catch on, her eyes widening as her voice turned hysterical. No way, no way. You can't be Kaya. She's not this clever. Who the hell are you? Her screams caught the guards' attention, who promptly came over and tipped Jinx away. The guards told me nobody had laid a finger on Jinx. Stranger still, Jinx looked no heavier than 40 kilograms, yet the scale consistently showed 120 kilograms. That's because 2 people were riding on her shoulders. The golden sunlight filtered through the trees as mother and I strolled down the shaded path. Suddenly, my foot slipped into emptiness, sending me tumbling backward. Was death truly my inescapable fate after all? With peaceful acceptance, I spread my arms. So long as mother was safe and vengeance served, I could meet my end without regrets. Just then, a pair of strong arms caught me firmly from behind. Turning around, I saw my mother's familiar, comforting face. Though I often struggled to see her face clearly, this time it was vivid, her serene smile still lingering as always. I clung to her tightly as tears streamed down my face. My mother gently patted my back, comforting me. Don't cry, my child. I have to go now. Take good care of yourself. Hearing her words, panic surged through me as I burst into tears. Mom, didn't you promise to stay with me forever? I'm not afraid you're a ghost. I've known all along, even as a spirit, you'll always be my mother. I've seen you float when you walk, seen you eat bugs and rotten leaves, seen you scare Jinx away. 6. I never called you out because I feared the day I did, you'd leave me. All I want is to be with you properly, Mom said with a smile. Last life it was you protecting me. This lifetime, let me be the one who keeps you safe. When I'm gone someday, promise me you'll take good care of yourself. I've knitted over 200 scarves and 100 sweaters for you. Remember to bundle up when winter comes. The evil is vanquished, the future holds promise, may you find peace. My mother wiped away my tears. Don't cry, I'll always find you. With those words, my mother vanished into the wind, leaving behind a string of prayer beads, the very ones I'd sought from the temple in our past life. Later, I sold the house and settled in a small town where I knew no one, no petty scheming here, none of those tiresome social formalities. I spend my leisure time reading, basking in the sun, and occasionally teasing the cat. I keep several cats, but rarely take in dogs. I'm waiting for something special. One day during a downpour, a stray dog took shelter here with a plum blossom mark on its right paw. I rushed over and scooped up the little white dog. So you're here too? The end. Story 2. In the perpetually spring-like city of X, a sudden heavy snowfall takes place. Within an hour, the zombies will arrive. In my past life, the 4 of us from my dorm met a gruesome end. This time, having been reborn, I am determined to keep everyone alive. If you want to live, follow me. The countdown begins. 60 minutes. I never imagined that one day my school would turn into this. The grass is littered with bloody garbage. The asphalt roads are smeared with dark red bloodstains, and the excited hisses of zombies echo from not far away. I have nowhere to run. The next second, an ugly, bloodstained face appears. So close it's out of focus. Then the zombie opens its foul mouth and bites down towards my head. I lose all sensation. Holy shit, it's snowing. A surprised female voice wakes me up. When I open my eyes, I see the familiar mosquito net and bedspread. Sitting up, I see the familiar dorm room and my 3 roommates, all looking out the window. Cora, come down quick. It's snowing. Rose calls to me excitedly, and I stare at her, dazed. Yesterday, I watched her transform from a normal person into a zombie with grayish skin and blood-red eyes. The other 2, Serena and Daisy, are also waving at me. They're all alive. No one has jumped out of the window in agony, nor has anyone been cornered and assaulted by those men. Now, the 4 of us are safe and sound in the dorm room. I suddenly feel an urge to cry. It's good. It was all just a dream. Serena smiles and says, I'm used to seeing snow back in the Northeast. Cora, how often does it snow where you're from? My mind goes blank, and I mechanically respond, more than 10 times a year. These words, and Serena's question, they are exactly the same as the last time before I was bitten to death by a zombie, not a single word different. Could it be that I have been reborn? I pick up my phone from beside my pillow and check the time, November 22nd, 2 p.m., in 10 minutes. The school will officially announce a lockdown of the dorm buildings and quickly lock the doors. After that, we won't be able to leave. An hour later, the first zombie will appear on campus. If everything matches up, then now, it should be Daisy's turn to speak. I look at her, and sure enough, Daisy whispers, the student council group chat says the school is going to lock down the building. Looking at Rose, who hasn't mutated, Serena, who hasn't been driven to jump from the building by the zombies, and the cold, Daisy, who hasn't been assaulted by the security team, and touching my own neck, which still faintly aches where a zombie tore out my esophagus. I'm sure this isn't a dream, but a second chance given by heaven. I definitely won't waste this opportunity to survive against the odds. I must survive this apocalypse. I quickly jump out of bed, my mind racing, thinking about how to quickly convince everyone to escape this place, and I only have 10 minutes. The 3 of them are still chatting casually. This virus must be the zombie virus, right? If there really are zombies, I'd want to be a badass hero. They're thinking Dracula vampire zombies or what? At this moment, outside the window, the sparse snowflakes have become much denser in just a few minutes. I know that soon, it will turn into a heavy snowfall. It's 5 p.m., with 7 minutes left until the announcement. I stare intensely at my roommates, my tone leaving no room for argument. Pack up. Let's hurry up and go. The 3 of them looked at each other, bewildered. With time pressing, the talk of an apocalyptic blizzard and zombies was certainly not something a sane person could comprehend. In crucial moments, lies work better than the truth. I whispered to them, my family just told me some insider news. Our entire floor is going to be taken away. See the heavy snow outside. In the next few days, the temperature will drop below 0. I definitely don't want to freeze. Serena was always cautious. They said they're going to seal it off. Wouldn't running out break the school rules? I replied with absolute certainty. Who said that? Until an official announcement is made. You're free. Rose, a local rich second-generation kid, wasn't worried about such minor rule-breaking. Who would dare to penalize her? So she agreed immediately. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I don't want to freeze, and bathing there is a hassle. Just keep your mind at ease, as long as I'm fine. You all will be too, seeing that the usual leaders of the dorm, Serena and Daisy were so determined. They both nodded in agreement. I quickly said, "Then hurry up and pack. The school is probably checking the announcement for typos right now, so we need to leave completely within 5 minutes. Once the announcement is made, the dormitory aunt will lock up with a big chain." Okay, it was 6 p.m., 6 minutes before the news would be released. I turned on the timer on my phone, set it for a 5-minute countdown, and placed it in the most visible spot on the table. I laid out 3 principles. No need to bring useless and cumbersome stuff like makeup, skincare products, or curling irons. Wear as many layers of clothes as you can. It's safer to wear them than to carry them in luggage. Make sure to bring all the charging devices for your electronics, and don't forget your keys and ID. Everyone watched the time and started packing frantically. With just 4 seconds left, we had finished packing. Each person was wrapped in 4 to 5 layers of jackets, taking advantage of the empty corridor and everyone else's attention still on Macy. We quickly dashed down the stairs. At 8:12 p.m., the 4 of us appeared on the first floor, heads down. The dormitory supervisor glanced at us but ignored us. We quickly pushed open the main door of the dormitory and left the building. We breathed a sigh of relief. But before we reached the first intersection, everyone's phones started buzzing. A message was sent in the class group. "Dear students and teachers, due to uncertain circumstances on campus and prioritizing everyone's safety and health, we have decided to temporarily control access to all dormitory buildings. From the time this message is released, students inside the dormitory buildings can only enter, not leave. We will notify you as soon as any new instructions are clear." The dormitory building was locked down. In our previous life, not only were we slow to react, but we also tended to be too trusting of others. The sudden snowfall in X City, a place known for its coconut palm-lined beaches, didn't even catch our attention. We lacked any sense of danger. Moreover, we obediently let ourselves be locked inside the dormitory building. Supplies were only distributed for 2 days before the dorm supervisor ran off with the remaining food and water. Then, water and power were cut off, and many people ended up starving or freezing to death in their rooms. Some tried to escape by jumping out of the windows, only to break their legs and get devoured by zombies. This time, having escaped the dormitory before it was sealed, we already had the upper hand. "Cora, where do we go?" "To the home and near the school gate." As Rose spoke, her breath formed a white mist. "Let's head to the lab." Rose was speechless. "Don't tell me the lab you're talking about is the one for the agricultural facility class. Why don't we go to a hotel instead?" I nodded. "We can get into the lab because I have the keys, and budget hotels like Jiaqing are locked down, so we can't go there, but there's really no need to go to a lab." "No, the lab is the best option. In my past life, I noticed a characteristic about zombies. They tend to be more active on cloudy and dark days than on sunny days, so I hypothesized that zombies fear ultraviolet light." We're both women in engineering, specializing in agricultural machinery automation. One of our elective courses was Modern Agricultural Facilities, where we not only studied temperature control technology in greenhouse environments but also soilless cultivation. In the Agricultural Facility Lab, there are 6 hydroponic racks, each with 5 levels, and each level equipped with 4 ultraviolet, UV, grow lights used for cultivating vegetables. That means there are a total of 120 UV light tubes in the lab. More importantly, since the hydroponic racks require a 24-hour nutrient solution circulation, the water pumps must be continuously powered, so the lab's water and electricity supply systems are completely independent. The agricultural facility lab is secured with a heavy iron door that can only be opened with a key. With water, electricity, UV lights, warmth, and difficulty for outsiders to break in, the lab could definitely become our safe zone as long as we have enough food and warm clothing. Rose rolled her eyes. "Cora, have you lost your mind? Even though I'm the class representative, I can't just do whatever I want. We're not allowed in the lab when there are no classes. Remember, I thought you were suggesting we stay at a hotel, so why insist on the lab?" It was 8:15 p.m., 47 minutes before the zombie outbreak. I'll explain it to Professor Mark later. He wants to mentor me as his graduate student. I'm sure he won't make a big deal out of it if anything goes wrong. "Just say I stole your key." 3 seconds later, Rose sighed. "Damn it, I'll listen to you. You'll have to write our final assignment for me. Consider it done. If we survive long enough to do the assignment, I'm willing to write for you for a lifetime." I continued walking. "Where are you going?" "The lab building is that way." I kept walking, casually saying, "We need to buy some supplies first. We can't just eat lab tools in there." "Oh, right." Then I deliberately led them towards the family quarters because there was a rookie station there. We could step on the delivery boxes to climb over the fence. It was 8:19 p.m., 43 minutes before the zombie outbreak, when we reached the rookie station. The usual elderly lady who picks up discarded cardboard boxes from the nearby residential buildings wasn't there, and the delivery guy was nowhere to be seen, probably too cold for anyone to go outside, which worked out well for us. We not only climbed over but also squeezed a flatbed cart through the fence gap, then we ran like mad to the Xinhuadu supermarket at the school gate. The supermarket's usual customers were mostly students from our school, so it was particularly empty today. We parked the cart at the entrance and dashed to the shelves. I checked the time, 15 minutes, grab as much as you can, skip snacks that take up space, anything with a short shelf life, anything with a strong smell, or anything that makes noise when eaten, load up on carbohydrates and proteins, go easy on fats, and don't forget drinking water, sealed garbage bags, toilet paper, and sanitary pads. The rest we don't need. I'm paying today, so don't be shy. I still had the 8,000 yuan national scholarship that was recently deposited, plus my salary from the part-time job at the bubble tea shop. That should be more than enough to cover the bill. After the apocalypse arrives, money will just be useless paper and meaningless numbers. Surviving one more day is what matters most. Although everyone didn't understand my peculiar requests, the phrase "I'll pick up the bill" effectively shut everyone up. For carbohydrates, we only took compressed biscuits since other kinds would be too hard to bite into in cold conditions. For protein, we opted for non-perishable and long-lasting foods like dried cheese, beef jerky, and canned luncheon meat. We also grabbed 2 boxes of nuts, 10 barrels of drinking water, 5 rolls of trash bags, 2 large packs of toilet paper, and a big pack of sanitary pads. Lastly, I picked up a box of their favorite drinks. Who knows, it might offer a bit of sweetness amidst our despair. At 8:34 p.m., our flatbed cart was loaded with a mountain of food, finally giving us a bit of assurance. Then, we headed to a nearby outdoor supply store. Snowflakes began to fall outside, and our current clothes were barely warm enough. Without needing further explanation, they knew it was time to buy some cold weather gear. We got 10 sets of cold weather clothes, for warm sleeping bags, for climbing hats, for down quilts, and 4 rechargeable heaters that could provide heat for 10 hours on a single charge. After securing our cold weather supplies, I casually picked up 5 blackout canvases and a pair of binoculars. Rose curiously asked, "What do you need these for?" "Camping," while I replied, "Better safe than sorry." My eyes wandered to a folding knife nearby, which I picked up to examine. Now it was Daisy's turn to be curious. "Cora, aren't you buying too much?" I half-joked. "Daisy, in the Resident Evil games you play, does anyone use one of these to fight zombies?" Daisy, a gaming enthusiast, often cradled her Switch in the dorm, occasionally complaining that none of us played games. "Hey, you're asking the right person. In zombie fights, you blast their heads with guns, and they still crawl. Using that thing against zombies is almost like bringing a knife to a gunfight." Daisy glanced around the store. "That one might be more useful." I followed her gaze and saw a military shovel. Nodding, I hurried in the direction she pointed and grabbed 4 multifunctional military shovels along with the 4 folding knives, stuffing them into our shopping basket. "Oh come on, you're really buying it. Planning to cosplay as Alice if you get bored." I didn't respond but added a hand-crank generator and a battery to our cart. Although solar panels are useful, they're too conspicuous and could reveal our location. So this type of generator was more suitable for us. At 8:37 p.m., while they were busy moving supplies, I slipped into the nearby pharmacy. None of us had any underlying health issues, so we didn't need any special medications. The vegetables from the lab would suffice for our vitamin C intake, so no need for effervescent tablets. What I needed was antibiotics, wound care, cold and fever medications, gastrointestinal drugs, anti-allergy medications, and first aid supplies. When I told the pharmacist, amoxicillin capsules, erythromycin capsules, clindamycin gel, and ofloxacin gel, the female pharmacist frowned. "Are you injured?" I smiled innocently. "Oh, no, just restocking some supplies for the school clinic." She then relaxed, logged the purchase under my name, and went to fetch the items. "Remember to check every 3 days when you get back. Here you go." I continued with gratitude. "Thank you." When we returned to the rookie station, we didn't rush to the lab building. Instead, we picked up a few large cardboard boxes from the ground. We chose boxes with the JD.com logo, packed all our recently purchased items inside, sealed them with clear tape, and hurriedly pushed them towards the lab building. It was already 8:41 p.m., and we had just 21 minutes left before the zombie outbreak. We needed to rush back to the lab and secure ourselves within 20 minutes. And I thought only one challenge remained ahead of us, but what happened next was unexpected. The snow outside was now so heavy that it was almost impossible to see the road. The snowflakes whipped against our faces, drastically reducing visibility. Soon, a student appeared not far ahead, seemingly having slipped and fallen to the ground. Minutes later, he got up with stiff, eerie movements and walked in a disjointedly strange manner. I recognized that posture all too well. The mutation had already started. 20 minutes ahead of schedule. No, we had to speed up. This path was the only way to the lab, and moving forward might lead us to encounter more zombies, but fortunately, they were moving in the same direction, so I carefully followed behind at a slower pace. "Hey, are those people ahead limping? Why are they walking so awkwardly?" "Quiet." I urgently covered Serena's mouth and whispered a warning in her ear. The zombie suddenly stopped and twisted its neck 180 degrees, seemingly searching for the source of the noise. They followed the sound and slowly approached us. Rose and Daisy gasped sharply. No living person could twist their head at such an angle. They both looked at me wide-eyed, their faces filled with terror. Hold your breath, stay quiet, and don't move, I instructed softly. Immediately, I held my breath and stood still like a statue. Zombies rely on hearing and smell to identify food. Their vision isn't very good, especially in a blizzard. They couldn't see us as long as we stayed silent and didn't breathe, allowing us to avoid detection. It came closer and closer until it was just a step away. I could even see its face, already beginning to rot and oozing pus. Fortunately, holding our breath spared us the suffocating stench of decay, or else some of us would have undoubtedly vomited uncontrollably. The zombie brushed past us one by one. Serena, terrified, was almost in tears, leaning heavily against my right arm. If I had let go, she would definitely have collapsed to the ground, weakened by fear. As the zombies moved slowly away, we all turned purple from holding our breaths, and only when they had moved a bit further did we dare to breathe out softly. We couldn't delay any longer and quickly pushed the cart along the road, racing towards the laboratory building. Finally, we reached the entrance to the lab building. The security guard stopped us, wielding a baton and pointing at the four of us. Where are you going with all this? The dormitory buildings are sealed. Why are you here? Go back immediately. In the past, the security would have let us register, call the teacher for confirmation, and then let us through, but the security this year was fiercer than the principal himself. Now is not the time for confrontation, especially with zombies still roaming the campus. The priority was to get into the lab as quickly as possible. After having witnessed the zombies firsthand, the three no longer had any doubts about my actions, and our cooperation reached its peak. According to the plan, Serena, who looked the most pitiful, played the weak card first. These are supplies for our experiment next week. Our tutor asked us to store them in the lab. Please, could you open the door for us, sir? The security guard scrutinized the pile of JD.com boxes on our cart, still skeptical and refusing to let us pass with a difficult expression. Seizing the moment, Rose quickly grabbed her phone and put it to her ear, starting to rant. Can you take some responsibility? Do you believe I will complain to JD.com about you, mother of sweet rain? Are you not cold while I am not delivering the goods to the designated place, and you expect us girls to carry such heavy lab equipment one by one? Daisy and I chimed in from the side. Definitely complain. Seeing our reaction, the security guard's concerns seemed to diminish, and after asking for our student IDs to hold temporarily, he waved us through. Once inside the laboratory building, we stood in a line and all let out a sigh of relief. At 9 p.m., we finally arrived at the laboratory with all our supplies. After locking the main door, we sat on stools, breathing heavily and feeling shaken. Daisy shared some screenshots in the dormitory group chat. From the trending page on Facebook, Q-City Men goes mad and bites people on the street. Live broadcast of Argentina versus Saudi Arabia at the Qatar World Cup gets interrupted. Even the mattress incident that had been trending all day was pushed down. I walked over to the window, took out a telescope, and observed the outside scene. The snow outside had intensified to the point that it painted the ground white, and the street lamps flickered a few times before going out. The campus was plunged into a sinister darkness. The apocalypse had begun. We each phoned our parents, deceiving them in the same way we had deceived each other to stock up on supplies. Then we began organizing everything in the laboratory. If all goes well, we won't need the bottled water soon, so we stacked 10 barrels of mineral water in the southeast corner of the lab, away from the windows to prevent freezing when the temperature drops suddenly. Cookies, dried milk, beef jerky, and canned luncheon meat were sorted by expiration date and stored in the northeast corner, prioritizing the shortest shelf life items to ensure a fresh food supply. Trash bags were placed near the windows where the cold could prevent decay and keep smells away from the corridor. Next to the food was our sleeping area, with thermal sleeping bags and down quilts, 3 grouped together, and another one about a meter away from the door. We would take turns keeping watch at night, as no one could guarantee absolute safety outside. Seeing the neatly arranged supplies made me feel somewhat relieved. Our parents also sent messages, saying they were prepared. So far, so good. Beyond that, I could only leave it to fate. Just as I was spreading a down quilt by the door, Rose couldn't hold back any longer. Did you already know there would be zombies in the school? I took a deep breath and nodded. How many? Can the school control the situation? My half-minute silence gave them an idea. Let's keep organizing, Rose said. We then resumed setting up defenses. Thermal clothing was placed on top of the down quilts for better insulation. We made curtains from blackout canvas to fix on the windows, which would block the wind and prevent outsiders from noticing our presence inside. Each of us kept a folding knife in our pockets. Military shovels were placed against the wall within easy reach. We turned the laboratory into a fortress. In those 4 hours, the screams and growls outside the window never ceased, separated only by a window. One side was a well-supplied greenhouse, the other a frigid hell. I stood by the window with a telescope, slightly pulling back the curtain to peek outside. 6 students dashed out of the library across the street and sprinted along the asphalt road. Mutated zombies chased after them relentlessly, swarming over any live person they caught to feast on. 1 zombie gnawed at a victim's face, 3 others concentrated on the abdomen, pulling out intestines, while about 6 or 7 more tore at the arms and legs. A zombie, frustrated with trying to bite the calves of a person lying down, simply snapped the leg at the knee to hold it up and chew, taking big bites. Yet, the person on the ground was still barely alive, emitting heartbreaking screams of agony. A dozen zombies shared one body, but with at least 100 zombies on campus, those who didn't get a share continued their frantic search for the living. The remaining 5 students, faces filled with terror, screamed and ran in panic, only to attract more zombies. The next moment, they were overrun one by one. At 1 a.m., the outside finally became quiet. The thermometer on the wall showed a drop to 0 degrees, plummeting from 25 degrees in just an hour, and it was still falling. Rose handed out down jackets and cold weather gear to everyone, while Serena distributed canned beef and milk-flavored buns, rationing them out equally. The 4 of us girls huddled together, savoring this luxurious meal amidst the apocalypse. Rose asked, "Will the zombies be eradicated?" I shook my head and told the truth. "I'll probably die before those things do, so I won't know what happens next." Daisy then asked, "Cora, can you share the details you know? Since we were attacked last time, this time I want to fight back." They then opened their notebooks and started jotting down my words. This is an apocalypse. The extreme cold weather reaching -50 degrees has enhanced the virus, causing a zombie outbreak. This wave of zombies is characterized by their highly developed motor neurons, running faster and stronger than humans, with excellent hearing and smell but poor vision. Also, they fear ultraviolet light. Rose quickly realized, looking at the row of hydroponic shelves behind us. "So, you chose to bring us to the lab because it has enough UV lamps?" I nodded. "Besides the lamps, this place has its own water and electricity. The hydroponic shelves can be used to grow vegetables. If we plant the large leaf sesame vegetables that Professor Mark talked about in class, it only takes 20 days from soaking to maturity." Daisy felt relieved. "So, we'll have a continuous supply of vegetables." We forced ourselves not to look outside. We threw ourselves into the task of growing vegetables in the lab. 40-degree water bath. Soak for 2 hours. Lay the cheesecloth on the germination tray. Remember to spray some water. Fill water in the lower layer of the tray. Right. Don't exceed that mark. Is the temperature in the incubator set right? It needs to be at a constant 30 degrees for germination. Daisy picked up 3 plastic bottles and called me, "Cora, how do I mix the nutrient solution? I can't tell these apart. Red is solution A, blue is B, yellow is C. Mix the 3 solutions in a ratio of 1:1. And remember to use an EC meter to check. Between 1000 and 1200 is ideal." After bustling around for more than 3 hours, nearing 5 a.m., we even started to sweat, chasing away much of the cold from our bodies. We sat together, turning on our phones to check the news from the outside world. Unknown virus outbreaks in multiple countries causing human mutations, casualties uncounted, stock markets plummet. Apple falls below $50, A shares drop below 2,000 points, Matai leads the decline. Gold bars sold out after being raided at multiple banks, long queues at gas stations across the country, queue jumping for fuel leads to a bloody incident, supermarkets like Yonghui and Walmart stripped bare as panic buying ensues, local governments urge the public not to hoard vegetables, assuring that supply is ample, SpaceX's popularity surges, Bill Gates and Elon Musk discuss purchasing the Starship. The counselor also posted a new message in the class group chat, "Dear students, there may be some emergencies occurring on campus. To ensure everyone's safety, the school has decided to temporarily close and monitor all dormitory buildings. The necessary survival supplies have been retrieved by the dormitory administrators and will be distributed to you daily on schedule. Please do not panic and refrain from spreading false information online that may cause public panic." Online, everything was chaotic, and everyone was scrambling to survive. Yet, the counselor's message downplayed the severity, prompting some students to retort, "People are dying. Who's spreading false information? The whole world is trying to escape, yet you lock us up, Mr. Young. I dare you to take a walk on the playground, then I'll believe you." At this point, the class representatives began to calm everyone down in the chat. "Whatever decision the school makes is for our safety. As class representatives, we need to lead by example and not cause trouble for the school or the teachers, right? Let's monitor each other in the dorms and avoid spreading alarming rumors. The school surely has its reasons. Locking down the buildings is definitely the safest measure right now. The teachers on the front lines are all working hard, with scholarships and various evaluations in their hands." Many students muted themselves. Only a few boys shouted insults. But none dared to lead a charge to break the dorm lockdown and seize supplies. The students were as naive as in my previous life. They didn't understand why, during the last virus outbreak, Americans first bought guns, nor did they comprehend the meaning of losing humanity means losing a lot, losing animal instincts means losing everything. Now is the time when we couldn't afford to lose our animal instincts. I looked at the counselor's Instagram profile picture and said, supplies were only distributed for 2 days. After that, the tens of thousands of students in dormitory building 32 were left unattended. The three of them exclaimed. What? Serena tentatively asked. Should we, perhaps, inform the other students? I looked at Serena without saying a word. Daisy answered before me. Absolutely not, Serena. Trust me, every zombie survival game has taught me one thing. The merciful don't last long. If you tell them, you expose yourself to risk. If anyone besides the four of us knows that we're hiding here with so many supplies, they'll be on us faster than the zombies. Serena looked at me, then at Rose. Daisy, how can you say something so cold? Rose said. I'm with Daisy. I have no interest in being a hero. Serena looked at me again for my opinion. I didn't contradict Serena but told her a fact. Supplies were ample for 2 days. But by the afternoon of the second day, everyone started to go hungry, because the dormitory manager, that woman, she took all the supplies. Serena's eyes widened in disbelief. At that moment, her worldview was shattered, for the four of us took turns keeping watch, sorted by student ID from smallest to largest. Rose, me, Serena, Daisy. Finally, it was my turn to watch, and as soon as I lay down, I fell asleep. Halfway through, a loud buzzing noise woke me up, like someone had put a vibrating phone next to my ear. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was nearly blinded by the bright purple light filling the room. What the hell is making such a racket? Rose, cursing, woke up, followed by Daisy. Then the three of us saw Serena, who was supposed to be on watch at the door. She timidly raised her hand from behind a row of hydroponic racks. Sorry, I just wanted to test if they worked, so I pressed the switch, and then, what she pressed was the master switch, which activated the water pumps of 6 hydroponic racks at once. The buzzing sound filled the entire laboratory, the noise making my scalp tingle. I quickly realized that the noise would soon attract a large number of zombies, and it was already dark outside. If any survivors noticed the light coming from the lab's windows, they would realize there were people alive inside. I sprinted to the master controller and shut down the row of hydroponic racks. Can't you think before you act? What if you attract zombies? Before I could speak, Rose's temper exploded. Serena's face turned bright red from her scolding. Sorry, I didn't think. I was uneasy. If the noise from the water pumps was this loud, we couldn't proceed with the transplantation as planned. If we didn't run the water pumps, then without nutrient solution circulation for more than 12 hours, some of the fragile seedlings would start to rot and wither. Not to mention growing edible crops. Is there any way to reduce the noise produced by the water pump circulation? I could only resort to searching on my phone for noise reduction materials. Sound-absorbing cotton, wood fiber cotton, and soundproof panels were only available at building material markets. I re-entered keywords, adding the name of our school after the noise reduction materials, hoping big data would direct me to the nearest store on the map. Only a few results came up, among them, a piece of news caught my attention, an interview from more than half a month ago with our university's environmental science lab about a new type of high-polymer elastomer composite sound-absorbing cotton. I didn't understand terms like high polymer and elastomer, but one thing was crucial. The environmental science lab was likely just on the second floor of our laboratory building. Look at this. I shared the news article in our 4-person dorm group chat. Daisy didn't catch on. What do you mean? Isn't it too late for us to start experimenting with this stuff? Rose knocked on her head. Dummy, the environmental science lab is right downstairs. We just need to break the lock and take what we need. That lab probably has a lot of soundproofing material. Serena swallowed nervously. So, that means we have to go outside, right? Aren't there zombies out there? I glanced at her. You and Daisy stay here and watch the supplies. Rose and I will go to the second floor to get the soundproof cotton. Rose raised an eyebrow. Aren't you going to ask my opinion? Among the 4 of us, you're the only one who can pick locks. Do I need to ask? Rose stayed silent, then picked 2 military shovels from the pile, tossing one to me. Rose swung the shovel a few times, handling it with ease. Don't say it. It's pretty useful. I bet it could even chop off someone's head, I said. Let's go now. Quick there and back, Daisy asked. Isn't it wrong? Didn't you say they're less active during the day? Why not go during the day? Zombies come out at night. Guess where they go during the day? Inside buildings. Zombies have a characteristic. Unless they spot a living target, they generally move outdoors before sunrise and don't easily enter buildings. But during the day, you never know where zombies might be hiding. Rose, and I pulled open the lab door. The corridor was pitch black. A cold wind poured in, and I tightened the scarf around my neck. Damn, it's cold. Let's move. I don't want to stay out here a second longer. We supported each other as we groped our way down the stairs, our inner tension magnified to the extreme. Fear comes from the unknown. I didn't know if there were people, or something worse, downstairs. The smell of decay and blood grew stronger on the second floor, and there were even bloodstains at the stairwell entrance. Despite knowing the dangers, we couldn't stop. I quickly assessed the layout to determine our bearings, which was identical to the third floor, a total of 6 labs, 3 in the north and 3 in the south, plus 2 public restrooms. However, the second floor's hallway was even darker than the third floor's, eerily silent. We pulled out our phones, using the built-in flashlights to cautiously illuminate our path as we moved forward. It was impossible to tell which room was the environmental science lab. We had no choice but to check the nameplates at each lab door. We agreed to start from the north and head south. At the northern end was room 201, labeled as the Energy and Power Lab. Next was room 202, the Vehicle Engineering Lab, followed by the Human Computer Intelligence and Interaction Lab. Then came the public restrooms. Rose and I quickened our pace, not wanting to waste a second. As we neared the restroom, I suddenly heard a noise inside. "Shoo," I whispered, pulling on Rose's sleeve and gesturing for silence. The sound was sporadic, like something slowly crawling on the floor, yet it seemed to be getting closer to us. Could it be a zombie? But the sounds didn't match the dragging footsteps typical of zombies, nor the speed. Also, the distinct stench of decay that usually accompanied zombies was absent, barely perceptible now. But I couldn't take the risk, so we stood still, silently. If it really was a zombie, staying still, silent, and holding our breath was the best strategy. As the sound approached, a blood-stained hand reached up from inside the restroom, grabbing Rose's ankle. "Help, please help me. I'm so cold." A girl with her lips frozen to a dark purple extended her head out, her wrists showing several frost-cracked wounds with blood frozen into crystals. "It seems to be a human. Should we help?" Rose waited for my decision. This didn't require a decision. From the moment I decided to escape this apocalypse with my roommate, I had made up my mind. I forcefully pulled Rose away from the girl's grasp and we ran to the door of room 206 at the end of the hallway, Environmental Science Lab. Without another word, Rose took a screwdriver from her pocket and began working on the lock. In less than half a minute, the door was open, with limited time. We grabbed what looked like sponge and foam materials, heavier than I expected. We found some ropes and rolled up the soundproofing cotton, tying it to our backs. "I'll be careful when we pass the restroom," I reminded her. Rose nodded. "That girl is probably frozen dead by now. She won't have the strength to attack us." I was concerned. Something about her was off. She kept her eyes shut. Her mouth didn't even move when she spoke. Rose tried to reassure herself. "Whatever she is, let's head back to base camp first." We walked through the hallway, deliberately avoiding the restroom door by sticking close to the opposite wall. Yet, as we passed, we still heard eerie noises inside, a mechanical female voice repeating endlessly, "Help, please help me, I'm so cold." Rose and I quickened our pace, carrying the pile of cotton and foam towards the stairwell. Suddenly, the voice behind us stopped, and the stairwell fell silent once more. Just as we were about to ascend, we noticed a trail of faint red footprints on the stairs. My scalp tingled. The footprints were headed upstairs, and I was certain that when Rose and I had come down earlier, those footprints weren't there. We both tightened our grips on the military shovels in our hands. My heart pounded like a drum as I slowly made my way upstairs. Halfway up the staircase, the bloody footprints faded until they completely disappeared. I couldn't determine whether the owner of the footprints had gone to the 3rd or 4th floor. Rose and I cautiously moved up the stairs, hardly daring to breathe heavily. We both gripped our entrenching tools so tightly that they left red-purple marks on our hands. The laboratory was only 10 meters from the stairwell, and I never realized before how long 10 meters could actually feel. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but it seemed like I could hear a faint rustling sound at the end of the corridor ahead. As Rose and I moved forward, the sound became more distinct, resembling the noise of something heavy being dragged across the ground. A few steps further and we were almost at the laboratory door when I suddenly pulled Rose to a stop. That sound, it was the footsteps of a zombie. We both held our breath and stood still, watching as a pair of feet, each missing half a palm, slowly dragged across the floor through the darkness. The footprint was very clear and did not match the half palm of the zombie we were seeing, so the footprints weren't made by it. What else had entered the building? It seemed that this zombie had been attracted by the sound of the water pump we had activated earlier. As the zombie moved closer, its highly decomposed face passed just a few centimeters beside me, allowing me to see the frozen blood and flesh clearly. Suppressing the urge to scream, I forced myself to calm down. Finally, when it disappeared at the end of the hallway, Rose and I almost ran back to the laboratory as if we were fleeing. The moment the door closed behind us, we collapsed on the floor, gasping for air, but dared not make any loud noises. Serena and Daisy, seeing us in such a state, asked, "What happened?" "There's a zombie outside." After saying that, I gestured for them to be silent, their questions stuck in their throats, unspoken. I took a deep breath, refusing to let unnecessary fear affect me. And place the soundproofing foam next to the culture racks. Lock the door. It's already 6 a.m., and it will be light soon. As soon as it's daylight, we start working immediately. By 8 a.m., it was bright outside, and no sounds could be heard. A night of blizzard had seemingly frozen the entire school. It was the second day of the apocalypse, and everything had changed. Serena boiled a pot of water, and we each made a cup of instant soy milk powder with pickles and bread. After eating, we wasted no time and started working. We first wrapped the water tanks of the culture racks with 2 thick layers of soundproofing foam, then turned on the water pump, but found that the sound still escaped. We had to add another layer and turn on the pump again. Daisy, standing at the other end of the laboratory about 5 meters from the water tank, gave a thumbs up. It seemed that 3 layers were safe enough. In this way, we wrapped all the water tanks with 3 layers of soundproofing foam. This not only blocked the noise from the water pumps but also provided insulation, which, under the right temperature, would help the vegetables grow faster. After finishing this task, we cleaned up the entire laboratory again. We hadn't managed to organize some of the medicines the night before. Since medicines were life-saving resources, we organized everything while we had the chance. I used some spare delivery boxes to make temporary storage boxes, cutting the cardboard to create a grid, resulting in 9 compartments for storing medicines. The first compartment held first aid supplies, band-aids, hemostatic gauze, adhesive tapes, iodine, clindamycin phosphate gel, ofloxacin gel, betabang, and other items. The second compartment held anti-inflammatory drugs, cephalosporins, amoxicillin, and roxithromycin capsules. The third compartment holds cold medicines like 999 Cold Remedy and Kong Kong. The fourth compartment contains injectable medicines such as clindamycin phosphate, glucose, and saline solution. The fifth compartment is for gastrointestinal drugs, including Wuxiangjingqi soft capsules, montmorillonite powder, magnesium aluminum carbonate chewable tablets, and Jintin pills. The sixth compartment holds disinfectants, like alcohol spray. The seventh compartment stores a digital thermometer and a finger pulse oximeter. The eighth compartment contains emergency heart-saving pills. The ninth compartment holds anti-allergy medications such as diphenhydramine and loratadine tablets. After organizing all these items by 11 a.m., we had lunch, and by 1 p.m., everyone started checking their phones. My mom sent me a video. Zombies have appeared in our neighborhood too. A neighbor was bitten to death while taking out the trash. Rose shared from her phone. Daisy added, "The same at my place." My mom said people in our resident group are begging for food. One neighbor gave someone a pack of instant noodles, and that night their door was broken into, and the whole family was killed. I live on the first floor, and my mom is too scared to even draw the curtains. My dad said he'd never buy a ground floor apartment again if he had the choice. I said. Serena listened with horror and said, "There haven't been any zombies spotted at my place yet." By 8 p.m., as night fell, it was the peak time for zombie activity. But there were no more screams of mauling outside. All we could see were wandering hordes of zombies. However, this didn't affect us. After a full meal, I took out the seedling trays from the incubator. In 24 hours, the seeds had sprouted, showing vigorous vitality through the moist gauze. For the first time since the day before yesterday, the 4 of us smiled. We began to transplant the seedlings onto the cultivation racks, carefully placing each sprout into a cubic sponge and then into the cultivation channels. The task wasn't difficult, but with 6 racks and 1,050 seedlings, it was time-consuming. Yet, we treated these young plants with unprecedented care and attention. After all the work was done, it was already 2 a.m., and we indulgently opened 4 bottles of coconut drinks. The sweet taste of coconut jelly and sugar water seemed to heal the fear and restlessness of the past 2 days. I laughed looking at the small can. Indeed, it's in times of hardship that one learns to appreciate small joys. Before going to sleep, the 4 of us secured the door locks and stuffed army shovels inside the handles of 2 doors to reinforce our defenses. On the second night of the zombie outbreak, the 4 of us finally got a good night's rest. On November 24th at 10:23 a.m., the third day of the zombie outbreak, the snow outside had stopped, and the indoor temperature began to rise. Previously, with 4 heaters running, the indoor temperature could only reach 5 degrees Celsius. Today, as soon as the snow stopped, the temperature abruptly rose to 12 degrees. As long as the power didn't go out, we wouldn't even need our cold weather gear. We took off our coats, folded them, and stored them in a box, then moved to the window and lifted a corner of the curtain. The campus was densely packed with zombies that moved very slowly and aimlessly when not hunting. Occasionally, we could see a few zombies gnawing at bones on the ground, but when a fresh corpse was discovered, several zombies would shriek and run towards it with surprising speed. Through the telescope, we could see that the corpse had frozen to death, with its face turned upwards. Bright red livor mortis had already started to appear on his neck. In the next moment, the zombie tore at his face, viciously ripping the flesh from his neck along with the livor mortis. Chewing it ferociously, Daisy remarked from the side. They're getting faster. Could it be because the weather is warming up? Asked Rose. In cold environments, the joints and muscles of a human body become sluggish, and it seems zombies are no exception. As we observed the zombies, a faint, rustling noise came from outside the door. I immediately shushed everyone, gestured with my hand, and pointed towards the door. Everyone paused, their hands in mid-air, and turned their gaze toward the front door. Help, help. Then, with a click, the sound of a key being inserted and turned in the lock was heard, and the door opened. Due to last night's entrenching tool, only a small crack was possible, revealing half of a pale man's face. Mr. Young, we almost shouted in unison as we recognized the man's face. Why was Counselor Young Yuan here? How could he open the laboratory door? The keys to the lab were limited, one with us and the other with Teacher Logan, who taught us agricultural facility management. Before we could react, 2 or 3 more heads squeezed behind him. One of them was our class monitor, who is also Mr. Yang's nephew by marriage. Rose, Cora, quick, open the door for us. There are zombies chasing us. The class monitor yelled desperately. The footsteps of the zombies outside grew louder, and Rose and I exchanged glances, hearing our names. Counselor Yang Yuan was ecstatic. I remember now. You are also students of agricultural machinery. Quickly, open the door for your teacher. With over 600 students in our department, it was normal for Yang Yuan to only remember those few who frequently visited his office, and not recognize us. Perhaps the continuous days of having enough food had diminished our wariness of outsiders in this apocalyptic setting. We hesitated. But it was during this moment of hesitation that Yang Yuan stretched his arm through the crack in the door and dislodged our entrenching tool. The moment the door opened, 5 people rushed in. With a bang, we slammed the door shut, keeping the relentless zombies outside. After entering, the group collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. Class monitor Leo recovered first, picked up a thermos we had put aside, and poured some warm water for Yang Yuan. Mr. Yang, have some water. A familiar-looking girl from the class of engineering management, who seemed to be the class secretary, eyed the food we had placed in the corner. She walked over, rifled through it, and handed Mr. Yang a bag of pan mini bread. Tearing open the package, Teacher, you must be hungry too. Have something to eat. Mr. Yang didn't hesitate. He gobbled down a few bites and, remembering the students behind him, wiped his mouth. We haven't eaten all day. Everyone must be hungry. Have something. Once the teacher had spoken, none of the students hesitated and rushed to our food supplies, picking out canned meat and bread. Rose frowned. Great, they've turned our place into a buffet. Serena whispered nervously. They must be starving, but even if they were starving, they should have at least said thank you or apologized. Watching the 5 of them devouring the food, I had a bad feeling. After finishing his bread and water, Mr. Yan finally looked up and carefully surveyed the room, his gaze finally settling on us. Who allowed you to enter the lab freely? Don't you know the school explicitly forbids students from entering outside of class hours? As he scanned the room earlier, I also observed him, not missing the almost gleaming look in his eyes when he saw our stored supplies. Ms. Young, if we follow the school's rules, you and Leo shouldn't be allowed in here either. Only Teacher Logan should have access to this room. I countered. I noticed a flicker of unease cross Ms. Yang's face when I mentioned Teacher Logan. Looking at the bloodstains on the keys in Yang Yuan's hand and his flustered expression, I could hazard a guess about what had happened to Teacher Logan. Cough. It was your Teacher Logan who gave me these keys. He asked me to lead a few students here to escape. Now, the lab is the only place left in the school with power and water. He twisted his mouth slightly, his tone hard to pinpoint as ironic or not, but it definitely carried a mocking undertone. You girls sure know how to find a spot. The dorms have been cut off from water and food for a day now. And here you are, enjoying yourselves and even growing vegetables. Daisy secretly texted me. From what Yang Yuan is saying, it doesn't sound like he means well, does it? After finishing his canned food, Leo started pacing around the room. The zombies outside had quieted down. I peeked out the door and saw nothing but an empty space. I see you girls haven't skimped on hoarding supplies. But given the current situation, we don't know how many days this will last. As a teacher, I suggest we make a reasonable plan. There are 9 of us in total. Let's inventory the supplies and distribute them evenly. Everyone should only consume their own share to avoid disputes as supplies dwindle. I was stunned. Daisy said, divide our supplies. But this is all our stuff. Why should we share? Rose was even more blunt. What are you even talking about? Meanwhile, I had already begun to consider the feasibility of growing castor beans to extract the toxin, potentially using it against these bothersome people. Yang Yuan's face fell, and Leo reacted even more vehemently. How can you speak to Ms. Yang like that? She's right. Since we're all in this room, we need to distribute the supplies fairly. The female party secretary chimed in. Yes, I and the teachers can understand your feelings, but Ms. Yang is saying this for everyone's good. We can't be selfish at a time like this. We need to help each other. That's right. And you say it's your stuff, but who knows if these supplies were already in the lab? Maybe Teacher Logan left them specifically for us. Yang Yuan's close associates, all class officials, united against us, standing on a moral high ground to condemn us. But sorry, in an apocalypse, morals are less important than a mouthful of hot water. You say these items were left by Teacher Logan, unfortunately for you. I have receipts and purchase records for everything in this room, proving these are all my personal belongings. You just ate a can of Yenta and a packet of biscuits, right? Please transfer 26.5 yuan to me via Instagram and MS. Young, are you going to pay yourself, or shall Leo and that self-righteous party secretary cover for you? The class officials were momentarily speechless, their eyes flashing with anger. Yang Yuan spoke up. You students probably haven't joined the party yet, have you? This crisis is a true test of character, and it seems you girls are lacking. I almost laughed out loud. Are you kidding me? Eat some plums if you're fine. It's the end of the world, and our survival is uncertain. Yet here you are talking about joining the party and making sacrifices. Rose didn't spare him any dignity. Morals. Why didn't I see you protecting students earlier? MS. Young, do you have any morals? Seeing that soft tactics were ineffective, Yang Yuan prepared to take a harder approach. The school rules state that students are not allowed in the lab without permission. With one word from me, none of you can stay here any longer. Are you sure you want to keep this attitude with me? Yang Yuan's voice rose, attracting a few more zombies outside. The scene was intense. Serena turned pale with fright. Kneeling on the ground, shivering from the cold, the class officers stood behind Yang Yuan, giving us cold, stern looks, but we were unfazed. Rose and I quickly grabbed a military shovel lying against the wall and faced them. Daisy didn't hesitate either. She pulled a folding knife from her pocket. They might have outnumbered us, but we were armed. If it came down to a fight, they stood no chance. Yang Yuan panicked and suddenly stood up. Is this how you treat your teachers and classmates? Get out of the lab now. As he spoke, he grabbed Serena, who seemed the easiest target, and started dragging her toward the door. Serena started crying, trembling and pleading. No, don't throw me out. I don't want to die. We quickly rushed forward, grabbing Yang Yuan's arms from both sides, forcing him to release Serena. In the struggle, his sleeve tore. I only glanced at it before kicking him hard in the shin. He fell to his knees. I took the opportunity to pull the others back and shield them. Daisy, momentarily stunned, gave me a thumbs up. You really dared to kick him. That looked painful. I didn't respond, my eyes fixed on a festering circular wound on Yang Yuan's arm, the edges blurred and marked with what looked like teeth marks. Mr. Yang, you've been bitten. This wasn't a question but a statement. I had seen similar wounds on Rose in my past life, and she had turned afterward. I was certain. His arm had been bitten by a zombie, and he was already infected. As soon as I spoke, the class officers behind Yang Yuan, following my gaze to his arm, stepped back in fear. Mr. Yang, your arm. They had been ready to rush to Yang Yuan's aid against us, but now they were as if facing a great enemy, wishing they could be miles away. Yang Yuan looked down at his arm and forced an ugly smile, covering his wound with his hand. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. It's not a bite. I just fell. He struggled to his feet, staggering towards the class officers behind him. Mr. Yang, stay away. You've been bitten. You're going to turn into a zombie soon. Yang Yuan continued to struggle. How can you not trust your teacher? Don't listen to her lies. She's just looking for an excuse to kick us out. I took a deep breath. Yang Yuan, stop making excuses. I saw it clearly. You've been bitten. I'll give you two choices. Either you go out by yourself now, or we tie you up with a climbing rope and throw you out the window. It's just a bite. Rabies has an incubation period too. Don't panic, students, I won't turn. Daisy stretched her neck in response. Who are you kidding? Think we haven't seen zombie movies? Rose grabbed a rope. Why waste words? Just tie him up. Yang Yuan immediately turned to Leo for help. Leo, I'm your uncle. Aren't you going to stop them? Leo avoided his gaze, too scared to look at him. We approached with the climbing rope, and Yang Yuan fell to the ground, beginning to convulse. Quick, while he's like this, Daisy, go open the door. The rest of you, help me drag Yang Yuan over. As soon as Daisy opens the door, we push him out. Got it. Serena and the female secretary were too scared to move, utterly useless. But among the class officers, besides Leo, there were two other boys. He seems quite strong. Yang Yuan continued to make all sorts of bizarre movements, rolling his eyes back in a way that looked terrifying. We tied him up with climbing ropes, and he struggled non-stop, like a fish out of water. Daisy ran towards the door. The zombies outside, sensing the presence of living people, became excited and started to bang on the door. I quickly ran to the culture rack, pulled off 2 ultraviolet light tubes, and dragged them to the door. The moment I pressed the switch, the purple light flared up brightly. The horde of zombies, which had been desperately trying to squeeze into the room, instantly retreated a few steps, giving us just enough breathing space to open the door. Rose, a few class officers, and I dragged Yang Yuan to the door, being careful not to let him injure us. The moment we opened the door, we all pushed Yang Yuan out together. Quick, close the door. Once the door was shut, we would be safe. However, things didn't go as smoothly as imagined. The moment Daisy closed the door, a hand reached in through the crack, firmly jamming it. I had no choice but to insert a military shovel into the handle again to serve as a door bolt. Yang Yuan woke up. He desperately clawed at the crack in the door. The ultraviolet light tubes at the door had no deterring effect on him because he hadn't fully mutated yet. Open the door, open it for me. He began to ram the door like a madman. The military shovel even started to bend, his eyes bloodshot. He desperately squeezed his body inside. I haven't been bitten. I won't turn into a zombie. Just open the door. Leo became frightened. Look, my uncle, his face. Yang Yuan's face was veined with bulging blue veins, and his eyes swirled with red blood vessels, his complexion gradually turning a ghastly pale blue. The mutating Yang Yuan became increasingly agitated, and the zombies outside did not bite him but merely roared and paced behind him. Perhaps they did not attack their own kind, and Yang Yuan, already beginning to mutate, was considered one of them. The light tubes. The ultraviolet light tubes. Bring them here. I turned and shouted into the room. Serena and the female committee secretary finally snapped out of it and ran towards the hydroponic rack. The rest of us barely managed to hold the door against Yang Yuan, half of his body wedged in the crack, bones making crackling sounds as they broke, yet he continued to push inward as if he felt no pain. The zombies outside became unusually excited, all slamming against the door together. We were all going to be done for at this rate. I steeled my heart and reached out to Rose. The military shovel, quick, without a moment's hesitation, Rose threw me the shovel. The sharp edge of the shovel gleamed coldly. Clenching my teeth, I raised the military shovel and fiercely chopped down on Yang Yuan's arm that had reached through, right at the shoulder. With a loud bang, the door was shut again. Yang Yuan's arm, mixed with the stench of decay, fell inside, the blood a grayish-green. Daisy staggered forward a few steps from the inertia, her left foot landing squarely on Yang Yuan's arm, and she screamed as she stepped back. A wave of nauseating dizziness swept over me. I had personally chopped off the counselor's arm. The cruelty of the apocalypse was fully demonstrated at that moment. Yang Yuan, now with an arm chopped off and locked outside, was completely enraged. He howled and repeatedly slammed into the door of the lab, his mouth mixing human speech. You all are going to die. If you don't save me, I'll kill you all. He had become a complete monster, and before long, he would lose all reason and thought, becoming just like those walking dead outside. They slammed against the metal door over and over, each hit causing the wall's plaster to flutter down. As if the next second the door would collapse under the strain, Serena and the female committee secretary finally detached the light tubes from the hydroponic rack, and Serena hit the master switch, lighting up all the ultraviolet lights at once. The metal door had already been dented open a crack, but Serena and the female committee secretary were about to bring the light tubes over. As long as we had these ultraviolet lights, the zombies wouldn't dare to forcefully break through the door. But what I hadn't noticed was that Yang Yuan outside was staring intently at those ultraviolet light tubes, his eyes emitting a fierce light, the corners of his mouth curiously upturned. The next second, he lunged at the light tubes, biting down hard, the glass of the tubes shattering in his mouth. Sizzling sounds followed as sparks briefly flared brightly from the tubes, effectively masked our presence. The zombies, though fierce and numerous, hesitated as the putrid scent of rotten flesh we had smeared on ourselves confused them. This gave us a critical moment to act. Charge now. Go for their heads, I shouted, leading the charge with the military spade raised high. The adrenaline surged through our veins as we sprinted toward the fire escape, hacking at any zombies that came too close. The sharp blades of our spades made quick work of their decomposing heads, clearing a path through the horde. Panic and survival instinct pushed us forward, every second counting as we dodged and weaved through the sea of undead. The fire escape was in sight now, our ticket to possible safety. Keep moving. Don't stop, Rose yelled over her shoulder as she took down another zombie that got in her way. The stench of blood and decay was overwhelming, but the fear of death was a greater motivator. As we reached the fire escape, the cold metal of the door handle felt like the most comforting thing in the world. We're almost out. Push through, I encouraged, as we slammed the door behind us, momentarily blocking the pursuing horde. Gasping for breath, we didn't stop to celebrate. The fight for survival was far from over, but for now, we had a glimmer of hope. Escaping the building was just the first step in the harrowing journey ahead. Our success managed to confuse them. We slowly squeezed through the crowd of zombies, highly tense, moving out while keeping an eye on our surroundings. During our movement, we even spotted the security guard who had stopped us earlier, now turned into a zombie. Just then, the class committee member who didn't want to cause trouble ran in the wrong direction, heading towards the staircase swarming with zombies. The next second, a zombie bit through his throat. The four of us couldn't afford to attend to him, as Serena also found herself in danger. Yang Yuan, who had half his head chopped off, suddenly got up and lunged at Serena, who instinctively stabbed her military shovel into Yang Yuan's throat. Yang Yuan's half head fell off, rolling on the ground. I've killed someone, Serena said, terrified. With a cry in her voice, she stared wide-eyed at the military shovel in her hand, now smeared with gray-green blood. No, it's no longer human. You did well, Rose said, wildly swinging her shovel ahead like a warrior in an apocalypse. 10 minutes later, we broke out of the encirclement of zombies. In the end, only the four of us were left, along with Leo and the female party secretary, standing at the side door on the first floor of the laboratory building. I used binoculars to check the situation outside. Crossing the lawn in front of the laboratory building and walking another 30 meters or so, we would reach the library and the IFU building. The female party secretary was sobbing. I'm so scared. Let's hurry. The zombies will catch up soon. The noise could attract zombies, and Rose, annoyed, said, shut up, or I'll hack your mouth first with this military shovel. I was even more irritated. The survival island I painstakingly set up had just been ruined by these incompetents after only 2 nights. I felt like killing someone. Serena's voice trembled. Where do we go now? To the library or the teaching building? Neither the library nor the teaching building, I replied, adjusting the angle of the binoculars slightly to the right. We're going to Little Moon. Little Moon is a chain supermarket within our campus, located to the right of the IFU building. The supplies are all in the lab, and we can come back when it's safe, which might not be too long. So, we still need to find a place with supplies. Inside the supermarket, there's always plenty of water and food. We certainly can't just run to the library and chew on books, Daisy said. The back of Little Moon is always locked. We probably can only enter through the front door, Serena added. What if there are people inside who won't open the door for us? Serena had a point. I glanced at the still-alive Leo and the female party secretary. If not for these burdens, we could have been safely hiding in the lab. Thinking about my own recent hesitations, I felt like slapping myself. After listening, Rose ran to the wall's fire hydrant, opened the frosted glass door, and took out a red fire axe, carrying it on her shoulder. If someone locks the door on you, don't you know how to smash it? I laughed. In this apocalypse, only someone like Rose might survive. As the zombie horde moved towards the main gate on the lawn, it was our best chance to sneak out quietly through the side door. We cautiously pushed open the side door, feeling our way along the wall. The lawn was littered with dismembered corpses, emitting a foul smell, sticky with every step. Holding our breath, we made our way across the lawn and reached the corner wall of the Little Moon supermarket, but the situation inside the supermarket was much worse than we had imagined. There must be at least 30 or 40 of them, right? We peeked through a window on the wall. You could barely see inside the supermarket. The shelves were scattered in disarray, with remnants of flesh and bone on the floor. The supermarket doors were wide open, but the zombies inside showed no interest in leaving, aimlessly wandering about. One of the zombies was unmistakably our dormitory supervisor, her curly hair unmistakable. It was now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It hadn't been long since the supervisor had taken the supplies when she was bitten. Even after turning into a zombie, she still headed to the supermarket. You are the true apocalypse hoarder king, I asked Serena in sign language. How much battery is left on your phone? 20%. Give it to me. Mine is at 90%. We'll sacrifice the one with less battery first. In the rush of the moment, besides keeping my phone close, Serena, who hadn't received a reply from her parents, also brought her phone. Daisy gave a thumbs up. Not bad. Cora, inspired by Train to Busan, using the phone's music to distract the zombies. We shared a knowing smile. Then I looked at Leo. I'll place the phone on the other side. Once the zombies are attracted there, you sprint into the supermarket. Didn't you win the 1,000 meters race? Leo was terrified. I can't do it. I'm too scared. You guys go ahead. Rose looked at him disdainfully. What a waste. Looks like I have to go. Of the 4 of us in the dorm, I was the only one who had run 800 meters before. Carefully, I held Serena's phone and crept to the flower bed about 20 meters outside the front door of the dorm. The phone wasn't locked. After unlocking it, I set the alarm for 5 minutes later and turned the volume up high, then placed the phone in the flower bed. 5 minutes later, a loud alarm rang from the flower bed. The previously quiet area stirred into chaos. One by one, zombies were lured out by the ringing, howling as they rushed towards the flower bed, their speed increasing. The noise inside the supermarket gradually subsided. It was about time. When we couldn't see any living thing inside through the window, we moved towards the dorm's main entrance. But, just as we were 10 meters away from the main entrance, a body fell from a palm tree at the supermarket entrance, landing right next to the female secretary. At that moment, the alarm stopped. The female secretary screamed. All of us instinctively looked over, and 30 or so zombies collectively turned their heads 180 degrees and roared at us. We sprinted desperately towards the supermarket. Zombies were frantically chasing us from behind. On the side, about a dozen shadows were approaching even faster. I was sure they were people, not zombies. In the end, a tall boy and I reached the supermarket entrance at the same time. Our group of 6 had made it, and on the boy's side, most of his classmates had also arrived, except for a few slower ones. Now Rose and I were ready to pull down the metal roller door, unstoppable. Those who didn't make it simply lacked the physical stamina needed for survival in the apocalypse. Suddenly, the boy reached out and stopped us. He held the roller door, preventing us from closing it. Rose yelled, "Idiot, let go." I also called for a military shovel to make him let go, but their side had more people and overpowered us. I saw that only 3 of the boy's companions were left, running desperately. But the horde of zombies was much closer to us, about to reach the gate. The zombies also noticed these 3, howling at them. The boy refused to let go and shouted outside, "Matthew, hurry." Upon seeing a zombie, the only girl among the 3 kicked the boy next to her. The boy fell to the ground. Seeing this, the zombies swarmed him and started tearing at his flesh. The 4 of us were stunned. What a treacherous woman. The zombies had reached the supermarket entrance, where Rose and some armed guys were desperately fighting back. The splattering blood and brains stained the entrance with a sea of corpses. Matthew, the 2 finally ran to the supermarket entrance, pale-faced, and prepared to enter under everyone's cover. Leo and I quickly pulled down the iron gate. Just then, the boy shouted, "Matthew, watch out on your side." A zombie on Matthew's right was targeting her, opening its gaping maw to bite. In the next second, she instinctively pulled someone from her left side and pushed them harshly out the door. They were instantly devoured. When we saw clearly who she had pushed out, we were almost blown away. Serena. That idiot Matthew had just casually used Serena to block the zombie's attack. Now Serena was outside the door, with a large chunk of flesh torn from her shoulder, her blood splashing onto our faces. Serena, Rose tried to save her, swinging her weapon to decapitate another zombie, but it was too late. Serena turned her head towards us and muttered her lips. She said, "Live well." The next second, another zombie tore through her throat. Only her legs twitched helplessly on the ground. Finally, with sheer physical strength, the boy managed to pull down the shutter door. We 3 sat on the ground, staring in the direction of the shutter door, speechless for a long time. Behind us, Matthew was sobbing in the boy's arms, crying bitterly. "It's so scary. It's not my fault. The door was open. She didn't run." Rose wiped her tears, stood up, and slapped the girl hard across the face. "Fuck you, you bitch. I'll kill you." Daisy also cursed loudly. "I'll open the door now. You try running." I also clenched the military shovel in my hand, ready to take down that deceitful bitch. Forget about girls helping girls. She's not even human. But the boy and his followers ran over and held us back. I see her companion wasn't in good shape either. She would have been a burden if she hadn't died. "My name is Michael. I'm a sports student. And these behind me are my classmates. We survivors from the Sports Institute have formed a defense team. We can protect you students. We were sent here today to transport supplies. If you 5 wish, you can come with us to our base later." A defense team. My heart sank. Matthew, hiding behind the boy, holding her face, said pitifully, "We're all trying to survive the apocalypse. It's all fate. Can't you just grieve? Why do you force me? Are you satisfied only if I die? If I die?" "She won't come back either." Rose, infuriated by these words, struggled violently, wanting to kill this deceitful girl. I looked at her. "Matthew, right. I will make you suffer 100 times more than Serena." Unlike us, Leo and the female secretary seem to have found a lifeline. "My name is Leo. I'm the class president. It's great to meet you. My name is Noah. I'm the secretary of the industrial management class. I'd like to go with you. Can you protect me?" A crew cut boy looked at her. "Sure, no worries. We'll definitely keep you safe," they assured us. Michael came over to persuade us again. "You 3 are all girls. Without us, you won't last long. It's better to have a roommate die than to die yourself, right?" Daisy spat in Michael's face. "You think you're worthy?" Wiping the spit off his face, Michael scoffed. "Ungrateful fools. Let's take the remaining supplies from the supermarket back with us, and let these 3 women starve and freeze to death here." Leo and Noah hurriedly followed Michael, starting to suck up to him. True to form, a scoundrel is a scoundrel anywhere, incapable of change. They didn't bother with us anymore, already busy gathering the few remaining items on the shelves. I was profoundly unimpressed by the so-called security team, since Leo and Noah chose to go with them. I wouldn't warn them about anything. 2 tall, burly boys glanced over at us with ill intent and licked their lips. I knew all too well what that look meant. At that moment, one of the more athletic girls among them looked over at us ambiguously. I noticed she had many unexplainable bruises and bloodstains on her neck. While everyone was busy scavenging for supplies, she quietly came up to me and whispered 2 words, "Run." The reason I was so skeptical about the security team was well-founded. They were indeed survivors from the sports academy, but they weren't there to protect students. From the beginning, they looted supplies and fought off zombies. Before a day passed, they fancied themselves as gods of the apocalypse, beginning to kill at will, assaulting girls, and even boys. In a previous life, Daisy, because of her beauty, was targeted by these men of the security team after surviving a dangerous situation. These beasts humiliated her in front of us, so I had a good idea of what the bruises on that girl meant. This time I was determined not to let history repeat itself. While everyone was busy scavenging in the supermarket and the zombies outside gradually dispersed, leaving only a few lingering, I stepped back and noticed several small alarm clocks haphazardly placed on a nearby shelf. I grabbed two and tucked them into my jacket. Then I took Rose and Daisy by the hand and led them to the supermarket's restroom. Inside the restroom was a ventilation window that we could just manage to escape through. I made a silence gesture, signaling them to keep quiet. The window in the restroom wasn't locked. A gentle push was enough to open it, but we three weren't tall enough, so I planned to boost them up. In a low voice, I said, "The security team is not to be trusted, and we can't stand against them in a conflict. They've taken the supplies and won't share with us. Let's find another safe place." As I spoke, I suddenly heard scattered footsteps approaching the restroom. I quickly pulled them into the last stall and hid. The footsteps grew nearer, and there was a muffled sound of someone struggling. "Enough, stop struggling. It's not like it's your first time pretending to be so pure." Outside our stall, the struggle and muffled sobs were neither too loud nor too soft. We exchanged looks, fully understanding what was happening. "Did you see those three chicks? One of them is really pretty. Slim waist and long legs. Once we bring her back and starve her for a couple of days, she'll beg us for food and water, then she'll do whatever we want. It's the apocalypse, you know. If we don't rely on us survivors to reproduce, humanity will be extinct." They really have no sense of the bigger picture. Right. It's all up to us now. We stayed motionless, but our hands tightly gripped the military shovels we had. Daisy looked the worst. I had once told her about her fate in a previous life. At that moment, her hatred was the most intense. Rose, who could never tolerate any wrongdoing, was now gritting her teeth, ready to burst out at any moment. With a soft bang, the bathroom door was shut by the boys outside. The three of us exchanged glances inside the stall, each observing the military shovels in our hands. The next second, we charged out of the stall wielding our shovels. The boys hadn't had time to turn around before we struck them down. They lay on the ground, eyes wide open, motionless. This time, we had truly killed someone. Daisy took Rose's fire axe, crouched down, and struck each boy once in the neck. The two men died with their eyes wide open. Tears filled the girl's eyes, and I asked her, "Do you want to come with us?" The girl shook her head. "I'm not leaving. My boyfriend is still outside gathering supplies." We were shocked. "Your boyfriend is outside? Why didn't you call him for help?" A hint of despair appeared in her eyes. "He handed me over to those men. Otherwise, why would they agree to protect him with so much effort? Go quickly. Don't worry about me. Hurry up and run. Or once Michael and the others notice someone is missing from their group, none of you will be able to escape." Under normal circumstances, we would have tried to shake her awake, but in this apocalypse, everyone must be responsible for their own choices. We didn't try to persuade her any further, but after thinking it over, I pulled out a folding knife from my pocket and gave it to her. Then I whispered a few words in her ear. She hesitated for a few seconds, but after turning her head to see the two men lying on the ground, she gritted her teeth and nodded. I guessed she would agree. We climbed out the window, and the girl inside gave us a push to help. Through the window, I took one last look at her. I mouthed "Be careful" to her. Seeing her tuck the folding knife into her chest and wave at me, it was like saying goodbye. We followed the walls towards the direction of the academic buildings and the library. Because we were covered in zombie fluids, we managed to avoid several wandering zombies and reached the academic building where the broadcast station was located. The broadcast room was the stronghold of the security team. During the crescent moon, I overheard their conversation. I wouldn't let Serena's hatred go so easily. We hid in a cabinet in a room next to the broadcast room, waiting for them to return. Soon, there was noise in the broadcast room. "Michael, are you reliable or not? Where are the supplies? Didn't you say the dorm supervisor was hiding them on the second floor?" "Noah, I'm not lying to you. My girlfriend Matthew heard that bitch talking to her boyfriend about running here." Curses and the sound of a slap echoed from the broadcast. "If you can't get it out of her, beat her for me, if she won't talk. Beat that pretty boy to death. Let's see how tough they can be." Soon, there were sounds of beating and pleading. "Stop hitting me. I was wrong. I really don't know where the supplies are. It was all Brielle's idea. Go ask her. Please stop hitting me." So the girl's name was Brielle. Her boyfriend continued to betray her. Noah, that bitch Brielle even secretly sent a message to the new girl Noah this afternoon, telling her to run. I cut her. "I've always been loyal to you. I never thought about running. It was all that bitch's doing." Then came Brielle's desperate screams and the sound of clothes being torn. "I'll kill you." At that moment, I took out my phone, set the phone to silent mode, then set an alarm for 3 minutes later, returned to the home screen and turned the volume up to maximum. Just as I was slowly walking out of the closet, preparing to stash the phone in the broadcast room, the voice of Noah came from the next room. My eyes, Noah. What's wrong with you? Damn it, that woman secretly brought a knife. Michael, kill her quickly, do it for me. Suddenly, the broadcast started to crackle and fizz. Let's die together. Brielle's resolute voice, through the loud broadcast speakers, echoed across the entire campus. Damn, what's that noise outside? Holy shit, why are there so many zombies? It's over, all the nearby zombies have been attracted here. Don't be scared, there's still a window blocking them, they'll disperse on their own. Before he could finish, there was a crack, and the glass shattered. I could even imagine countless zombies swarming into the broadcast room, despite being doused in the stench of zombies, which was relatively safer. We still held our breaths in the cupboard. Tightly gripping the military shovel, the scream that pierced the air seemed to come from Matthew. Help, Michael, save me. Don't run. Help me quickly. Help, save me. I know I was wrong. Don't eat me. It hurts so much. In the campus, the screams of Matthew and the security team's men reverberated through the sky, accompanied by the sound of flesh being chewed. The painful screams amplified through the broadcast sent chills down the spine, yet there was a slight thrill to it. Minutes later, only the growls of the zombie horde remained, their volume decreasing until silence prevailed. Rose spoke up. Serena, we've avenged you. Daisy added, well done, they deserve to die. 5 minutes later, the loudspeaker fell completely silent. At last, I heard Brielle whisper through the broadcast, thank you. Thankfully, she really survived. She had dodged a bullet by following the method I taught her. Without the threat of zombies, we still couldn't sleep. Just closed our eyes briefly near dawn to muster some energy. As daylight broke, visibility cleared, and the temperature began to warm. Having not eaten for 2 days, we needed to muster the strength to search the building for food and water. We listened carefully at the door for any sounds of zombies or human footsteps. Hearing none, we pushed the door open and stepped into the hallway. This floor had classrooms of the Environmental Science College, starting from the first classroom on the left. All the doors were locked except for the one we just exited. Yielding nothing, we dared not forcibly open the locks, fearing the noise might attract zombies. Reaching the staircase, we climbed up to the second floor, which clearly wasn't used for classes. The air was damp, giving the feeling of entering a rainforest, thick with the smell of plants and earth. What's this stuff on the ground? Moss. Daisy's voice barely fell when we looked down to see a thin layer of moss-like substance clinging to our shoes, somewhat slippery. This place was more airy than any other. How can there be moss on the tiles, especially after the cold spell we've had? Forget plants, nothing could survive. Maybe we should go. This doesn't feel right. Daisy sounded scared. I agreed with their sentiments and was about to lead them back to the staircase when suddenly a faint human voice came from behind. Save me. It's so cold, help me. That voice sounded eerily familiar. Rose looked at me in surprise, mouthing a question. I suddenly remembered, wasn't this the same voice that Rose and I heard in the public restroom of the science building on the first day of the apocalypse? The voice came from behind us in the room, growing clearer as if the speaker was moving closer to us. I instinctively looked towards the room's back door window, where there was a rustling sound, like an animal slowly crawling. Let's go. As soon as I spoke, something slapped against the glass door of the room. Was I seeing things? That thing seemed to be green. Save me. It hurts. I know I was wrong. It's so cold, so cold. Suddenly, human voices became chaotic, as if people were talking from every direction. I turned around. The 2 classrooms ahead suddenly sprouted several entwined emerald vines from their doors, the tips even impaling a body. As the vines crept along, the body trembled slowly. No. That wasn't a body, it was a zombie, its skin a ghastly gray-white. The scene before us was beyond terrifying. I grabbed Rose and Daisy by the wrists and we ran downstairs. The vines chased us relentlessly, their leaves quivering, the sounds of chaos echoing behind us. What the hell is that? Some kind of alien creature. Get to the ground floor and lock the fire door. We sprinted to the first floor, and with a loud bang, we slammed the fire door shut and locked it. The moment the door closed, the vines had already climbed to the doorway. Amidst the cacophony, I thought I heard Serena's voice. She said, "Stay alive." 14. We returned to the initial classroom, still shaken, even with their strength. The vines couldn't open the locked door, huddled in the corner. The 3 of us gasped for air. You both heard it, right? Daisy and I nodded grimly. It was indeed Serena's voice, but we didn't recall her ever saying those words. So it must have been her final message to us before she died. The message we hadn't heard clearly was her urging us to live on. So, these plants can mimic human speech, replicating someone's last words. I nodded. Maybe it's a form of evolution. In cold and dry conditions, they lack nutrients, so they use this method to confuse and lure prey closer. Did you see that zombie? That's probably why there are no zombies in this building, not just humans. Zombies are also drawn to the human voices emitted by these plants and become their fertilizer. The vines penetrated through living bodies, traversing within them, feeding on their flesh and blood to nourish themselves, satisfying their need for growth. In this apocalypse, no creature stands at the top of the food chain. Every organism has its weaknesses and strengths. These vines are no exception, but we haven't found their weaknesses yet. What do we do now? I'm not opening that stairwell door again. I looked out the window. It had started snowing again. Let's go back to the lab. The zombies in the research building would have likely dispersed after 2 days and a night. Having figured out these zombies' patterns, we've gradually adapted to life in this post-apocalyptic world. As long as we stayed quiet and waited in a sealed space, surviving didn't seem too difficult. We successfully avoided the zombies in the academic and library buildings, crossed the lawn, and returned to where we started. The zombies had indeed mostly scattered, and the few that remained were easily dealt with. The lab was intact, all supplies accounted for, and the stove still radiated warmth. Rose locked the door behind us, and as we looked out the window, the snow had intensified. Our timing was perfect. If the temperature dropped to -50 degrees again, we wouldn't have survived the night outside. Serena's white Huawei phone, now out of power, lay on the windowsill. Rose silently began to charge it. Our supplies were plentiful, thirsty, and hungry. We drank lots of water and indulgently made a pot of hot water to cook 2 bowls of beef noodles, even sipping the soup to the last drop. Inside the lab, with the stove lit, we consumed our substantial rations in silence. One reason was to avoid attracting zombies, and another was the reminders of Serena and her last words, "Stay alive." Thus, we all kept trying to survive. On the 20th day of the apocalypse, the number of zombies outside had significantly decreased, likely connected to the evolved plants on campus. Day 35 of the apocalypse, a few vines crept up outside our window, seemingly trying to communicate with us, but we didn't open the window. Day 52 of the apocalypse, the sound of drone engines filled the air outside, as if something was being sprayed from the skies. Day 61 of the apocalypse, peering through the telescope outside the window, the ground was a dry yellow. We hadn't heard Serena's voice since. Day 70 of the apocalypse, a touch of green appeared in the incubator. Despite the loss of UV light and the cycle of nutrient solution, some seedlings tenaciously survived and sprouted fresh green leaves. Day 75 of the apocalypse, the campus loudspeakers came to life again. There was a broadcast speaker hanging on the wall in the lab. We could hear everything clearly without opening the windows. Attention all surviving teachers and students. The zombies and mutated plants outside have been cleared. A helicopter will soon land on the playground. Please prepare quickly to follow our personnel to the safe quarantine zone. Snowflakes still fluttered outside the window, but our eyes welled up with tears. Not a moment before had felt as warm and reassuring as now. Rescue had finally arrived. We quickly packed up our personal belongings, wrapped ourselves tightly in down and winter coats, and the 3 of us, with backpacks slung over our shoulders, headed to the playground. Indeed, there was a helicopter waiting there, with several armed personnel nearby. It was then we realized that besides us, there were many other survivors in the school, both teachers and students, and I even recognized a few familiar faces from my major. We 3 lined up behind the group of survivors, boarding the helicopter under the orderly supervision of the armed personnel. Just before boarding, I couldn't help but ask one of the armed guys beside me, "Which department are you from?" "The People's Liberation Army." He smiled at me, his smile warm and comforting, like a glimmer of dawn in the apocalypse, as he urged me onto the helicopter and took my backpack. I heard him say, "We are from the Apocalypse Defense Squad."